water on my own, or am I doing it?
It's telling me I'm live, y'all. Doing a heckin' thing. Dang, we are live. Hey, and that doesn't look too bad. Everybody let me know how this sounds. This is going to be kind of a different thing. We're in the den here at Aaron's Family Fun Center in Belton, Missouri. So we've got some lanes. This is a kind of like a private party room that they've got. They've got a few lanes in that are separate from the rest of the center. So we've got some, we got Kegel chromium down there. They've got that torch thing in the background that you can see that we're gonna use here a little bit later. Yeah, good. I just take the lid off. Yeah, we're good. We are, yes, we are live. That's what it tells me anyway. So
live and in person.
Yeah.
What's up?
James Kniffen.
Yo. Like another chair, you can put your drinks on in front of you.
Sure.
Yeah, I can reach to the table right here. I don't care.
Just him and the mic.
Here, come on.
Yeah, you're fine, but he's got the mic and I don't want to.
All right, let me share this a few places. Give everybody a minute to filter in. Okay. Yeah, we got everybody here. So yeah, this is really cool in here. They definitely put some work in getting us set up to actually do this. We've got several people here in town for the KC Open, put on by Mike Adamski and David Waswo and Kim Waswo. Not to be forgotten. Got my fancy little Panda Pack thing. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. We'll see if we can get that up there on the...
Yep. Those do look really nice.
Yeah.
It's not really focusing that well.
Yeah, it doesn't want to focus on it. Okay, whatever. Close enough. Yeah. Jesus H. Christ, James is fun to watch bowl.
Well, 3 cheers for Twister Pins. That's all I'm going to say.
You know what the H in Jesus H. Christ stands for?
Heckin'.
Heckin', yeah.
Nailed it.
All right, so yeah, we're gonna talk a little shop and ramble a little bit here, and like I said, we got everybody else that's in town for the weekend that's kind of bowling in the background. And I'll try to keep my head out of the way of James bowling, because that's a whole lot more fun to watch than my head. Woo! We'll zoom in on that here in a minute.
Just remember, pin action is 20% faster than it appears.
Twister pins or not, everything about your game is awesome to watch. Yeah.
This is like the notice on your rearview mirror.
Yeah.
Yep. They appear.
Yes, Talon and Mr. Bill are also here.
And Tamer is here.
Tamer. Yep. Poke your head in here for a second.
Camera's up there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fancy.
Hey.
Tamer Elbaga of Tamer Bowling. So yeah,
we're the 3 amigos of the bowling world.
Yeah, we're all here. Let me turn this camera a little bit.
Thoughts on a 2-hander getting a promotion? I would generally say yes.
Yeah, I think that'd be.
I know several 2-handers have struggled with controlling resin shapes properly, and they all swear by it. Well, cool. Actually, you might like it regardless. Lefty,
yeah, we are.
Method, Pearl. Yeah, I can see
we are all here at the same time. We talked Tamer into flying halfway across the country for our little. Or it's not little.
Well, you didn't talk me into flying halfway across the country.
Yeah, well, I mean,
dude, come on.
It doesn't take much. This is like the third time.
You know you're gonna make money. I'm just here for
Yeah, we're here for the enjoyment and all this stuff.
Making money even when I'm an illegal bowler. But
yeah.
Nice
good
try.
times, good times.
I'm not exactly sure that James can mute you while he's on his phone. Can you?
I can.
Oh man.
Yep.
Fruit.
Hey,
you done screwed up.
Quick poll in the chat. Should I mute Fruit in the chat right now?
Yeah. All right,
Put
so
user in timeout. You see?
yeah. So yeah, hopefully y'all can hear us fine. I'll try to talk a little bit louder, but the acoustics in this place are pretty good. So
Yeah. A little noisy, but other than
yeah,
that,
no,
I
we
just
can
twisted
yell.
That doesn't help.
I'm only at 50% volume too, so I can turn this sucker all the way up. But
Hey, Bill, get over here.
Oh,
They want you on the stream.
yeah.
Also, goodbye, fruit.
Mr. Bill Walker himself, in person, the tech wizard.
Yep. What's up, Bill?
Backhands.
Yeah. Yeah, they're moving.
Yeah, it's really.
Do you get help from Bill? Because I need some tech help at home.
Yeah. Bill knows everything. That's a secret.
Yeah, whenever we go to order new computers or something like that, it's like I don't know much about this. Can you tell me? I just need to be able to handle this stuff.
Yeah.
So
Why doesn't it work?
yeah.
Once I get to
Why
that
doesn't
point,
it work?
there's
Yeah.
nowhere else to go.
Just
Yeah,
throw
I
it better.
know.
That's your solution. Just throw it better.
Oh man.
No, I'm not talking about bowling. I'm talking about computer.
Did I-
throw it up against? You mean throw it up against?
Just throw it better.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
always the answer.
Yeah,
Just
fair
throw
enough.
it better.
PCs. What can I say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So big thanks.
Sorry, fruit. You were asking for it.
Nice place here.
Yeah. This is a lot of fun. It's really interesting bowling a tournament when they max out the field and you bowl several games out there, and then you come into the den for however many games you have going on, and then it's usually quite a bit different in here than it is out there. But it's but it's an experience.
So they continue the tournaments through this section, basically?
Yeah. So if they have enough.
Yeah, they have enough.
Yeah, if they have enough entries, they'll go ahead and open this up, and you'll move back and forth. It's always kind of fun coming in here. But
Right.
unpopular opinion, unmoot fruit. Why do I suck at bowling, guys? We haven't even answered that question for ourselves. I'm not going to speak for James because he can throw pins around. But
Yeah. I just throw it hard and pray.
yeah.
Simple man, simple taste.
So we definitely want to big shout out to Frank Hall for getting us set up here, and Mr. Mike Soroka for letting us in here to do this.
Yeah. No, it's a fantastic facility. So.
Yeah, this is
And this venue is really cool.
yeah.
So. Yeah, that works.
All right. Well,
Slow mode close up of your release when.
no, I'm gonna go on the other side of the camera. We're gonna show you around here a little bit.
While Luke does that, Joe, I think I have a slow mo video up on my channel. It's from probably 4 or 5 months ago. I think it may have been before COVID, but yeah, no, this is a really sick facility. Luke, do we want to show him the torch? Yeah. While we're doing that. I'll try to hit it a couple times. Yeah, 32 plus 6. I don't know how well they can hear you from there. So yeah, well, there's also usually not people bowling with twisters. So this vertical bar right here above my finger, that is called the Kegel torch. It's actually basically an LED light strip that is this basically hovering above the lane on that this frame right here, and it's got a little. You can't even see it from here, but it's got a little sensor right there at the bottom of the pole, to where it's actually at the correct height. Where if you actually hit the bordus over, then it will, in this case, change from white to green. So it's basically a 2-in-1 targeting and projection aid. So like, if you want to throw it to the same spot down lane, whether you're throwing it from, up the ditch or from further inside, it can help. Number one, it can help illustrate where you need to be targeting for that, but also give you a clear indicator down at the break point of you actually hit what you're trying to hit or not. So let me try and hit that a couple times real quick just to illustrate. Fingers crossed. I've been pretty close most of the time.
Yeah, Curtis, I think we will be getting to the proof and proof pearl. when I get back home, should be finishing up the videos. We've actually done the video work already.
I missed.
Favorite one ball.
It's the first shot I threw in like 10 minutes. Deal with it.
I'm answering questions for, you know, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, it's always hard to pick one favorite ball. I mean, historically, I'd probably say the Storm Furious, believe it or not. It's an oldie now, but... Yeah, currently, probably the melee jab is probably one of my favorites in the bag. That seems to be one that I like taking wherever.
Just missed it.
We might have to take bets on this, hitting this, but I'm definitely not going to do it while it's right there. Luke's manipulating the cameras so you can see what James is doing. Oh, Fruit's taking bets against James. There's somebody who you muted, sort of. He's taking bets against you.
Oh, really? Okay, interesting. Interesting. Last try. See if I can actually get this.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do like a, you know, out of 10 at some point.
I heard it hit it. Just didn't hit it enough.
Yeah.
Is that gone? It is. It's actually legitimately hard to hit that though.
Yeah.
But it is. It does really illustrate like targeting down lane. You can be a lot more precise than most people realize, just because like you know we're both. This is a challenge pattern. This Kegel is like 6.7 to 1, but it is still very much a case of the more precise you are, the more consistent your ball motion is going to be, generally speaking.
Yeah.
And then it's just a matter of getting in the right spot to where that consistent motion is strikes instead of big force.
Well, and at the end of the day, I mean, about where that is kind of where you want to be hitting, right? I mean,
Well, that's exactly it. That's on the 6'4" to 43 feet, which on a 42-foot pattern is basically perfect.
Exactly. Being able to hit down there, that's really what you're trying to do at the end of the day. I know a lot of people look at the arrows, dots, whatever, but that's the sort of end game, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. Parker, I was throwing a nano pearl for those couple shots. I should throw the Rubicon.
Okay.
Back in a minute.
And honestly enough, we can just zoom the camera in on the lanes and go out and bowl. I don't know that we need to sit here and yammer for a while. We can just have an on-lane kind of talking session, and I can move the mic and set that up closer to what we're doing, and that way we can kind of talk about what's going on.
Can you turn it on after I warm up?
Yeah.
I mean, I've done straight live sessions before.
Yeah, you can't hide on the.
Green.
Yeah.
Only took me like 6 tries.
So this is something I'm gonna talk about this for a second. We haven't figured out the particulars, and we haven't really got this settled yet. But let me see here.
Hey, Tamer, Curtis said the left is walled. Any comments? Hey, what's up, Riley? Hey.
A guy by the name of Evan Raffini, who has bowlinglabs.com, I'm pretty sure. Talked to him a couple years ago about making us kind of a logo or whatever, and this was back when I couldn't. Logos are hard. But I mean, you got the Tamer bowling thing, and
Yeah. I mean,
but yeah, logos are hard, and anybody that's tried to
it is. and then once you get one, you basically stick with it for a while.
It's just what everybody knows.
Yeah.
And so we have you've seen on the videos, you've seen Panda Pack Productions or Panda Bear Productions, which is our Malamute, our Alaskan Husky, Malamute / Siberian mix. And so we kind of went with the, we actually did this we started this before or around the same time as like the Team Fish thing, and so we didn't want to seem like we were trying to copy like whatever else. It was just we were trying to come up with our own logo and something to do. But Evan drew this, or didn't draw it up, but this is kind of our Panda Pack. It's kind of a logo. You've seen it on some other stuff. I don't know if it's actually on it's on the desktop. I could pull it up. I don't think I've got it saved anywhere. But we got a couple of different, and we might, who knows. Anyhow, we have a couple different logos for like patches and stuff, and but this is something we're gonna start having some patches. And again, this is something I talked about a couple years ago, and we haven't really followed through on yet. But now we're kind of coming around back to it. And plus, since we're with, you remember earlier this year for Angel's birthday, we did the charity stream for the Positive Tales here in Kansas City that does stuff. And so we're going to work out something to where we're going to get these patches made, and a certain percentage or a certain dollar amount of each sale for the patches, and we're probably going to have some stuff like this and some apparel and something like that. A portion of that's going to go to the Positive Tales dog rescue. So we're trying to work that up. The left is not walled. This is chromium. I'll have you know. Yeah, left is definitely not walled.
Left is walled.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I just made a 10-pin left-handed.
All right. So yeah, I guess we can talk about what we brought to the tournament. We're just going to be bowling on this weekend. We're bowling team tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And then we're bowling doubles and Sunday at 9 a.m. We're bowling at Summit Lanes in Kansas City, or more specifically Independence, I think.
Lee's Summit.
And then,
it's
Brad Miller's home center.
Yeah.
Little 24-lane center with 35-year-old HPLs or something like that.
Everything hooks a lot in there.
Yeah.
Early friction and lots of it.
And then Sunday for doubles and singles, we're bowling at Lunar Bowl, which is really cool. You haven't been to Lunar yet, have you?
I haven't been to either one.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But Lunar's very interesting inside. It's set up a lot like this center. It's the same floor design or whatever, minus this in here.
Yeah.
But it's got an outer space type of theme to it. And so it's really kind of wild. And if you look in the bar, they have a big moon that actually dips down low enough to where if you're like 6'5" or something, you'll run into it.
Oh, that's sick.
So it's actually really cool.
No, that is one thing I will say I've been very impressed with the centers out here. Is like, by and large, they're very well kept. They're well maintained. Like, this is the second time I've been to Aaron's, and it's been fantastic. It's been a great experience both times. Sorokin does a great job running the place. Frank is the head mechanic here. I've known him for a few years through Reddit, and he's an awesome dude, and he cares. And honestly, caring and having the work ethic to follow up on that is a huge part of keeping the industry going, in my opinion.
Yeah, and we also spent some time at League last night at Royal Crest Lanes in Lawrence. Another great center. They take care of us there. We had a little bit of a practice session there earlier today, kind of in preparation, but we got people here from everywhere. So Tamer is from Philadelphia, I'm pretty sure. James is from Raleigh, North Carolina. Mr. Bill and Mr. Carlos here. You can see the ball in over there. And Mr. Bill's son are from Colorado Springs / Denver. Mr. Riley Patton's from McPherson. Kind of, are you bowl there? Are you actually from McPherson? Or? Okay. So Wichita, whatever. That's where he's
Close
living
enough.
right now.
Close enough.
Is that where your parents are?
Tobias is here from Kansas City, and then Mr. Joe Zapansky is here from Cleveland, Ohio. So
Oh,
we've
he
got.
lives in Cleveland? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he lives in Cleveland.
Wow.
So yeah, we got people here from all over the place for the KC Open. So this is going to be a lot of fun. It's a great tournament, and James has been here for a couple of their sweepers. They have a sweeper series here in Kansas City that I've talked about several times, and James has flown out specifically for some of the sweepers.
Yeah, except for
And-
Labor Day last year, and then back in June, right?
Yeah, and then back in June when they.
First one you pull out for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But Mike and Dave and Kim run great tournaments and good enough to where he's willing to fly out for them, and so they're.
Yeah, they're easily the smoothest run singles tournaments of that size that I've ever bowled.
Yeah,
Period.
it's quite a bit when you're willing to buy a plane ticket and come here to bowl
Yeah.
tournaments. That
Yeah.
kind of says a lot.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all heard. Angel said it says a lot that I'm willing to buy plane tickets to come out here and bowl their stuff.
You were invited.
It's that good.
Yeah. Fruit. I think you're new enough. Everybody in Patreon. Oh, whoops. No, I didn't. Everybody in Patreon and Discord is invited. We kind of wanted to make this a Patreon Discord thing, but we had to start signing up back in. We started talking about this back in January, February, something like that, to get everything in for this. So you can come next year. Yeah, Dave.
He's got a good ball.
Yeah, he flew out for this. That's actually our team name. We flew out for this or something. So
Yeah, we flew out for this.
yeah, definitely. But these guys are trying to make this a bigger regional tournament, like if you've been to Greater Ozarks and Springfield, or if you've been to Greater Tulsa. I can't. There's some other big team double singles tournaments out there.
Yeah, there's a big one in Georgia. I just bowled last weekend. Called Turtles. It's run down in Augusta. So it's a very similar type of format. You can bowl 2 team squads and then doubles and singles. And so is it? I think it's usually at Bolero, Augusta, down in Augusta, Georgia. I went down with a group of probably 30 people last weekend and bowled that, and it was a lot of fun. So I threw a gutter ball, and having the entire group heckling me all at once was a lot of fun. So.
Yeah. So if Columbus, Ohio. Why did I think Cleveland? I don't know. I have completely screwed the pooch on Joe all weekend. He shaved his beard off, which I was looking in Discord, and Frank, the mechanic, said he was on his way, and I thought he was coming out to have barbecue with us. And so I'm expecting him to get here, and then 15 minutes before we left, I see somebody walking up the front steps through the garage.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll go let him in. And then I just, he kind of walked in, and I just said, hey, are you Frank or Mule from Discord? And then I kind of blinked. And he's like, no, it's Joe. And I'm like, oh, okay. So because I was thinking Frank, I thought that Joe was going to meet us at the barbecue place. I didn't know he was coming to our house first.
Yeah.
And so I'm expecting Frank, and then he shaved his beard off too.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't even the eyes were not engaging with the brain. I was thinking, okay, well this has to be Frank. And so, oh, you're Frank, or me? It's like, no, Joe. And I'm like, oh, so I'm an idiot. So so it's Columbus, not Cleveland. So Joe, one of these days, I can say your last name's Sapansky. I can actually say that right, so maybe get something
Joe
right.
said he's pulling in now. There
Once
you
in
go.
okay, so he's.
Do we want to loop back and talk about bags and what you brought?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want the boss? Do you want to show anything?
I'm gonna put some stuff out on the rack and we'll practice here in a minute.
Yeah.
So yeah, James, talk about what you brought.
I don't think there's really show and tell needed for this.
No, I don't want to shuffle.
So my bag, I'm gonna go from kind of strongest, that is earliest, down to my latest ball. The early ball is the. Can you hear me? Okay.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure
think
they can all hear you, but
Yeah. Early ball is a
I'm
pin
moving
down
it 'cause I
Rubicon. I drilled that about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And that's the ball I used it down at Turtles last weekend and shot 15-39 for 6. Never had the ball change for a 6-game block with 6 people on a pair, which was honestly incredible. I've never had a ball that blends the lane but still goes through the pins quite like that ball does. So that's really, really impressed me. The only other sanded ball I brought with me is an IQ Tour Nano Pearl. Pretty normal pin-up drilling on that one, nothing crazy. But just a little. I've got some lane shine on it because I think I've got 25-ish games on it. I haven't even touched the cover stock aside from ball cleaner. So it's been kind of letting it shine up, and as it's shined for me, it's gotten punchier and actually goes to the pins better now than it did out of the box. Yeah. Did he actually hit the pocket that
The
time?
lefty, yeah, the left is walled.
Okay. Hey, good job on hitting the pocket, Tamer.
Yeah.
So that's the sanded side, is a pin down Rubicon and a pin up IQ Nano Pearl. The shiny side of the bag, I drilled in Astrophysics on Wednesday and brought that out and actually shot 793 with it last night, subbing at Royal Crest, which was a lot of fun. Hashtag illegal sub. We should probably explain that after we're done with this. So yeah, I mean, Astro going to do Astro things. It's an amazing ball. I've matched up with it really, really well, and when it works for a really long time. So that or a code black was basically like a non-negotiable in my bag for this trip. From there, that's where it kind of departs a little bit from arsenals I've carried in the past. My more control-oriented shiny ball is actually a trend that's drilled pinned down with a deep thumb. This is another late addition to my bag. I liked the idea of the trend when I drilled my first one pin up, but it was still kind of really, really boomy down lane, and so I'm like, okay, let's drill one pin down, try and kind of tame that, make it a little smoother, a little more rolly. And so far, so good. It's definitely a different shape down lane because symmetric versus asim and pin up versus pin down. So it's definitely a little bit smoother and more controlled than the Astro is. But it does kind of offset that like massive punch down lane that I get from the Astro pretty well. So I've got Rubicon, Nano Pearl, Astro, Trend, and then my weak ball is the 5-inch High Road Pearl that I drilled back in February, I think. It's just that ball, like, I mean, we were talking about in the car earlier, Luke, is like every time I throw it,
Yeah.
it's oh, it can do that? Oh, it can do that too? And so it's like the more I throw it, the more I see the range of use cases for it in different situations, and it's becoming like I've been saying for the past several months that the Astrophysics is the biggest sleeper ball Storm makes right now. I think that might actually be the High Road Pearl.
Yeah.
Because it's like
Both of them.
well, yeah, true. But I mean, even more. I mean, the High Road Pearl's been out since what, 2014, 2015, somewhere in there.
It's
Been around
6 years.
like 5-6 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And like it still works. It's a different application now than when it first came out. Volumes would keep increasing a little more, balls keep getting stronger. But when the lanes get a little crispier and I need to kind of get left floated to the spot and let it walk back from deep, then it's fantastic. So got those 5, and then of course my plastic ball. So that's what I'm rolling with for this weekend. That's also going to be, I think I'm leaving some stuff with you guys.
Yeah, you're
So
gonna be back
I'm
in a
going to
couple
bring
weeks
and come flying back out in 2 weeks for Swiss Trios at North Rock in Wichita. And so I'm going to be probably rolling in with 9 balls for that instead of the usual 6. But to save on baggage fees one way, I'm leaving a bag with you guys. It'll probably be Nano Pearl, Astro, and High Road Pearl that I'll leave with you guys.
Yeah.
And then take the other 3 home with me, and then I'll fly out with 6 in 2 weeks, and then fly back with 9, which will be fun to deal with. So that's the extremely overblown description of my arsenal right now.
Yeah.
So what are you rolling with, Luke?
I brought the usual suspects for me. I'm gonna make I'm not, by the way, announcing what I'm working on anymore. I'm just gonna make it. You're just gonna be surprised. That way, nobody else makes it first. But I brought my kind of usual suspects for league. My league bag right now is Astro, Trend, and ProMotion. The ProMotion on the left side, I feel like if you're a lefty and you don't have one, I don't understand. And James will see tomorrow. It's just an unfair look. I mean, James doesn't get along with spec, but it's
Facts.
on the left side of the lane. It looks like an IQ Tour does on the right side.
Well, your ProMotion looked like my IQ Tour to begin with on the right side of the lane, so it makes sense.
Yeah, so it's just absolutely stupid how good that ball looks. Now the Astrophysics and the Trend is something I didn't think that I was going to end up liking. I really like the piston core that's in the ProMotion and the Trend. The Trend is obviously just R2S Pearl, so it's pretty clean up front, but it's not quite as springy down lane as I expected it to be. I thought it was going to be too much boom, which it's not. I also thought the Astro was going to be way too much boom, but something it allows me to do is to just get out of the ball easier. I can just get out of it, I can float it right down the lane, and I don't really have to try and manipulate it or do much to it. I can just kind of float right out of it. The ProMotion allows me to keep my angles closed. which is a big deal on the left side of the lane. So I've got those 3. The Electrify Hybrid is another one where it's the same type of story as the Trend. It just kind of gets down the lane and it walks right in, and it's great for when the lanes are drier. Another ball that I really like, but I haven't got to throw a whole bunch, is the Parallax. It's really, really strong for how smooth it is. Yeah, he doesn't like it. But
That's an understatement.
Nano Pearl, which is basically like what the Parallax is for me. The Parallax for me on the left side is like my Halo Burn is on the right side. And that looked ridiculous at Summit last year, and so I brought it just in case it happens to work. Cool, if not cool.
Yeah.
A ball I haven't spent a whole bunch of time with this time around, being a lefty, is the High Road Pearl. I had one, that and the IQ Tour Solid were my 2 big lefty balls when I bowled for 2 or 3 years, 4 or 5 years ago.
That was back,
and
back when like the original phase in that era, right?
Yeah, so I'm really familiar with the High Road Pearl. So even though I haven't put a whole lot of time on it, I'm already comfortable with it. I remember what it does. I know what it does. I used to throw it a whole bunch. I'm trying to think about. I threw a couple extras in there just for the heck of. Oh, the Rubicon.
Yeah.
The Rubicon's the other one, and then
Which
plastic.
you actually got 2 last night.
Yeah. The Rubicon actually finished out my game last night, and I got the last game in series. I was down by like 20 pins for series in our scratch league last night. And I guess since people are asking about it, I'll talk about that.
Yeah. Do we want to explain the illegal sub story?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm in a draft scratch league, or a scratch draft league on Thursday nights. There's 18 4-person teams, which is just ridiculous. It's a scratch league and it's a draft league, so you don't. So you just kind of put your name in the hat and you get picked by somebody. You end up on. You don't know who you're going to end up with. Who's going to draft you, what your teammates are going to be, nothing, unless you happen to be a team captain. Now, what they do is that they have 18 teams worth of people signed up. They take the top 18 averages from the previous year, and those are the captains. And they draft in order from 18 to 1. So the lowest average team captain gets to draft first. And they used to do a snake draft for the first couple rounds. So they go 18 to 1, and then one would pick twice, and then come back to 18. But they thought that they'd add a little bit more strategy into it, and so the last round had typically been, well, after the first 2 bowlers are drafted before the last round, they will add the averages of the team captain and the first 2 draftees together, and then
reorder the draft.
reseed them based on the total team entering average so far. Well, they decided to start doing that every single round.
Ah, okay.
And so
there's a draft travel league in Northeast Ohio that I know a couple guys that bowl in, and it's that same format, whereas they reseed after every round based on cumulative team average. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, Joe brought
man.
the Nerf gun.
Yep.
So is that? I never actually asked you this. Is there an average cap in that league or no?
There is no average cap in the league. We have all the way up to 242, I think, was the highest average last year.
Okay.
And we have all the way down to like 190, 195.
Okay.
But the 190 to 200 average bowlers bowl in like the lowest average generally bowls in the 2 spot. So the second high average bowls in the 1 spot, the lowest average bowls in the 2 spot. And then so you'll normally have like 200, 205, 210-ish averages in the 1 spot. You'll have like 190 to 200 in the 2 spot. Then you'll have 215-ish, like 210 to 220 in the 3 spot. And then you'll have your team captains, which are normally 225 to 225 plus in the 4 spot.
Yeah.
Well, the sub rules are that the sub has to be within 5 pins either side of the bowler that they're subbing for. Unless you're a team captain. Now, if you're a team captain, you can have anybody sub for you. We've had a couple pros in the build. Wesley Lowe sub last year. We've had Rhino Page sub
sick.
before.
I didn't know that.
So yeah, Jeff Poston, who we were bowling kind of in the same vicinity as, he had Wesley Lowe bowl for him last year, and
Super sub.
Yeah, super sub. But team captains can have anybody sub for him. Well, James got into town early, and was gonna come see the league
Got
last
in here
night.
around lunchtime on Thursday, I think.
Yeah, so got here last night, and we had originally set you to bowl up for a team captain.
Yeah.
But there was another guy. He was like, "Well, I'm going to go on ahead and bowl." He's in school right now, and he didn't. Some of his classes get done late, and so he wasn't sure if he was going to be able to make it. And so he'd rather have a sub than take it, because there's also average rules based on your taking if you're absent or not there, you can take your average the first week, but for each subsequent week that you miss, you take 10 pins off the average. So you can't have somebody just not make it for like 3 weeks or something.
Because they're getting -10, then -20, then -30.
Exactly. So
Whoa,
it hurts if
that's why subs are so important.
Yeah, you show up, but the sub rule too. The guy that he ended up subbing for, Tyler had said, "Oh well, you know, I'm gonna go on ahead and bowl, but so and so needs a sub." Yeah. Well, he thought that so and so was a team captain, which he wasn't. He was a team captain last year,
but he wasn't this year.
And so James' average ended up being too high.
Yeah,
and so
the guy I was subbing for averaged 226.
Yeah.
So far in that league, and my highest average from a full season last year is 237. That's an 11-pin difference. 11 is more than 5 for those of you that can't do basic math.
Yeah. So
it was really funny.
A couple people on the other team watched you throw a couple shots in practice. And they're like, "Let me look this guy up. Hold on here."
Yeah.
But they still let him bowl.
Yeah. No.
He ended up
what
just
was
being
the name of the team captain?
Alex Hardman.
Yeah, Alex was Alex. I don't know if you're watching, but many thanks, man. But the team captains and the league president were all really cool about it. They let me still pace for the night, even though my scores wouldn't count. They let me stay in brackets, and I ended up shooting 790, and I think I won 14 and 20 brackets I was in. So it was a really fun night, and honestly, like most leagues, they probably wouldn't have let me keep bowling. Because when Alex walked over to me like, "You can't bowl," and as soon as I figured out why, the first thought in my mind was, "Well, I'm packing up for the night." Mm-hmm. And then I find out 30 seconds later that everybody's cool with it, and I can keep pacing for the night. And I think that speaks to the group of people out here.
Yeah,
not every league would do that.
Which is great because it's a competitive league, and people really care about wins and losses and what they're bowling. But everybody seems to get along. Everybody's nice. Like, everybody wants to bowl well, but if stuff shakes out like it, but these are all elite level mental bowlers. Whether or not they're elite on the lanes, they have it's like, okay, well, this wasn't my week, I'll come back next week. They don't complain about carry. They don't complain about this is BS, that's
sorry.
BS.
They're saying that I suck because Riley hit the torch post. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So James has got to go do a thing. Yeah, he can't. Yeah, he got close. Let's check this out. Let me. Which way am I going here?
I touched it. That sucks.
It's so close. I mean, that thing is that it's actually very sensitive. But he was a board or two inside. But if you don't hit the board you're aiming at, the light doesn't go off. So if you think, well, I got close, or that actually was the board, that thing will tell you it wasn't what you thought it was. Promotion to the rescue. Riley hit the torch first shot. Yeah. Yeah. Wife's getting a little bit of practice in. She's bowling this weekend. Just can't perform on camera. Where's Tamer? Tamer's around here somewhere. I think he stepped out. Oh, Tamer he traveled from Pennsylvania, and he's got the IT system, and one of the ball's cores shrunk a little bit, or no, it didn't shrink, it swelled. It's kind of high humidity here right now, and so the core swelled a little bit, and his thumb slug got stuck in the ball, so he's trying to get the slug back out of the ball. It's the nuclear cell, which I don't think he's going to be using this weekend anyway, but he wants the slug more than the ball, so we're trying to get some ball work done and see what's going on. So let's see. Nick Brown wants nothing to do with the torch. Yes, Alex Hardman from Jayhawk. Yes, we bowl with all the Jayhawk guys. Alex Hardman, Nathan Hardman, John Hardman, and then Russ Wilson, who runs the Pro Shop division. So yes, that Alex Hardman from Jayhawk. A great group of guys. What we got going on back here is Kegel Chromium. Now the tournament that we're bowling on this weekend is just on a house shot, but there's some very interesting houses. Summit Lanes, where we're bowling the team event, has about 30 to 35-year-old AMF HPLs, which is a pretty high friction surface, and so ball choice is very interesting. At Lunar, they have probably 20 to 25-year-old Anvilane, and so it's a nice surface, but it's pretty worn in, so it's also high friction. So it's a house shot, but it does make it interesting. So the lefties really whacked it last year, so Tamer and I are excited, along with Chad Rhodes, who bowled with us last year, who's a local. He did really well in the tournaments. But again, it's a very well-run tournament, and so like I said, James has come out a couple times for our sweepers, just number one to kind of see us and hang out with us, but to go to show up and go to some different tournaments. And he just likes how well the tournaments are run, how smoothly they are, and he's in North Carolina where bowling is just kind of now opening back up. And so to have something to bowl, he's coming out to bowl this stuff. And so anytime he's got a free weekend and Dave and Mike and Kim are putting on a tournament, he's interested in coming. And this is a bigger team doubles, singles type thing. They do run a lot of singles and doubles tournaments throughout. They usually run a couple tournaments a month in addition to the holiday tournament. So we just had one on Labor Day this Monday, and that was pretty good. I'm still figuring out the lefty thing. Tamer's back. I don't know if he
Finally hit the torch.
Yeah. Oh, he finally hit the torch.
It only took me like 6 hours.
Yeah. So we'll get the verdict on it. Hey, Tamer? what do we have to do? Do you have to drill?
Well, I wound up punching the 8 out, opening up, and then putting another bottom piece.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Cool. So you're good to
And then I
go.
went through and I'm like, I need new grips too.
Well,
Just do the whole thing.
Quentin's a good guy. He's this is actually one of the pro shops in our pro shop group here locally that I've worked for a while.
Yeah.
So Quentin's a good guy. He's been in there for a while, and so we got the ball fixed. So yeah.
Now if it actually comes into play, at least it'll be useful.
Yeah. Or at least you have that slug back anyway.
Well, he was telling me, he's like, oh, you got a lot of reverse. I'm like, yeah, whatever, and surgery and all that stuff. But when you have reverse and the slugs are huge and it goes down to the second, you can't hold on to the ball. I mean, you feel like you gotta.
Yeah.
You're basically knuckling the ball. So it's like, yeah, that's not gonna work.
Yeah. But yeah. So the other tournament that I'll get to you for some. Everybody wants to know what you brought for the weekend. But the Swiss Trios that James is coming back for in a couple weekends is really interesting because it's 6 games on Saturday, 6 games on Sunday. You sign up, you pick your 3 bowlers, and you show up. You draw randomly to see who you're going to bowl the first round. But every single round is a position round.
Yeah.
So if you're doing well, you're going to be bowling against everybody else that's doing well. It's not like you get 11 different teams. Yeah, 11 different teams at random and happen to get a couple of the teams in there that aren't doing so well.
And so it's head-to-head match play plus team.
Yeah,
for each game, right?
Yeah, so it's a total of 5 points a game, and so you have obviously 1 point per individual
1, 1,
for
1, 2.
1, 1, 1, 2. So who you're bowling against on the other side, and then the total team points is 2. And so, but if you have any ties, it's also based on your total pins up to that point. So if you have 4 teams that go 5-0 the first round, the highest scoring team will bowl the second highest scoring team, and then the next pair is the third and fourth highest scoring team.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
So it's one of those things that you're never really ahead by much, and that unless you're just bowling so much better than everybody else. But if you're not doing so well, you're bowling against other teams that aren't doing so well, so you have a chance to get back into it.
It can definitely be a vicious spiral.
Yeah, you're never.
You don't bowl well.
Like
You're never
looking around every time.
You have to position around every single match. So yeah, it makes it very interesting. You're never walking away with it, and you're never out of it until you might be out of it if you have 10 points. Yeah, if you have 10 points and there's only 2 games left to go, you might be out of it then.
No, I actually bowled a league like that this past summer. It was every week was a possession round as opposed to every game,
like 2 or 3.
but it was still the same general idea, and it was a lot of fun because you know that it's like it's actually a really cool kind of visual illustration of how you're doing in the league. It's like the better you do, the further towards the low end of the house you get, and vice versa. So the last few weeks of the league, my team slid way towards the high end of the building, which sucked. But
Well, that's
so
yeah.
it
So you
goes.
ever notice that, like, when you've done position around tournaments or leagues before,
Yeah.
you wind up in the same part of the house every time, and if you don't like that
Yeah.
part of the house, you're like, oh my god,
Yeah.
why are we in first or second? Because I don't
Yeah.
want to be on this pair every week.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
speaking of which. In the Thursday night competitive league, I helped run back home. Our step ladder the past last season actually ended up on lanes 5 and 6, which is the weirdest pair in the entire building. Because on the right side of the lane, if you put down any kind of a normal pattern, the left lane hooks 3 boards more and 3 feet later than the right lane. There was a time one time bowling league on that pair, I did not miss on the
No.
right lane for an entire league.
Oh, actually.
set. I shot 680 because I couldn't strike on the left lane.
Dave Waslow used to do the Bowlers Show. If anybody here remembers the Bowlers Show, Dave Waslow, one of the guys that's running the tournaments this weekend, is the guy that did the Bowlers Show, and he said that the at Summit, he says they're actually 19-year-old lanes, but they play 35 years old. So. Let me answer a couple questions here.
I'm trying to answer some stuff.
Matt Peoples, local guy that I know. I was looking at picking up the Rubicon or the Isla. I was wanting something that can handle more oil than my Astrophysics. What would you suggest?
I'd say Rubicon.
Both of them will handle more oil than the Astrophysics, but I think the Rubicon is a little bit more versatile than the Idol. The Idol's
Rubicon,
definitely not a bad pick.
So
But
my pinup Rubicon actually feels very similar to what you would actually think a Code Black or an Astro with more traction would do. It's very reminiscent
that's
of the
fair.
Codex, just a little punchier down lane than the Codex was for me.
okay, so,
So that's probably where I'd go. If you want something, like if you really like your Astro, you want something with a little more traction and kick and dig than that, but not going all the way up to like a snow tire ball. That's probably what I'd do.
All right, so we talked earlier about what James brought for the tournament. We'll kick it over here, and I talked a little bit about what I brought for the tournament. So let me kick it over to Tamer here, and we'll talk. Okay. James is going to go bowl.
Wait, James, what did I bring with me?
Yeah, Tamer's going to talk
Sorry.
about what he brought.
That's an inside joke, but
and why he brought it. So
all right. So I think for those that kind of watched how I put together an Arsenal videos, I did a bunch of that this year for the 20 and 2021. Sorry, what was it, 19 and 20, I guess, favorites, whatever it was. So I'm going to kind of go by that. So basically what I did is I have a six balls. That's all I was going to take on the plane. I have, for the strong defined, I have the 900 global volatility. It's a big piece. It's smooth from the left side, smooth enough, but still gives me some good motion. So that to me was kind of just a no-brainer in terms of what I had sitting around. I guess just to clarify, I did go back to 14 a week or two ago, just having some wrist issues. So if I might get a couple of questions about, well, you had this stuff at 15 and all that, but anyway, the volatility is a strong define. The next ball, which I guess would be the strong control, is actually a Black Chaos. So the Columbia 300 Black Chaos. It's an older one now, but I love the ball. It's definitely kind of a stronger down lane, but it's one that I can put a ton of surface on it, or I can leave it shined up. It's very versatile for me, so I figured I'm going to bring it. It's somewhere around between 3,000 and 4,000 right now. If it turns out we need more, I'm going to put a little more surface on it, and that'll be the strong control ball. Then going into the mid, so mid-defined, I have the nuclear cell. I think I've talked that ball up a ton in the review, so not going to talk about that again. I mean, it's a strong, angular ASIM. That's the one where, as a lefty, if I really need to get in, I still need a stronger rolling ball, and that to me is kind of the difference between, say, an Astrophysics for some maybe righties who might like the Astrophysics. Astrophysics is probably a little clean. I'd almost put it mid-late if it was in my bag because it's just too clean. So that clean and angular is a little further downstream in my arsenal. So nuclear cells, that strong, more tumbly type of look. Then I have the Radical Squatch Hybrid. So the Squatch Hybrid, that is my essentially mid-control ball, almost like the benchmark, essentially. That's the one I just feel really comfortable with. Taking it out on anything kind of tells me what's happening. And then the next one would be the mid-late, and that's the Brunswick Melee Jab. I think I mentioned it earlier. Someone asked me what's one of my favorite balls. That is definitely one of my favorite balls. Reminds me of Storm's Marvel Pearl. That's how it rolled for me.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's just a spare ball, so I have a mix. So that's the 6. I figured, that'll be a nice rounded. I don't know what I'm gonna see where we're at, and so let's just get a nice rounded bag and make. If I need something in between, I'll just have to make it work with hand or whatever. So.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen his arsenal building videos, it's a good way, especially if you're going in blind to something like this. You have a couple different shapes, you have a couple different holes, you have a handful of different actual cover strengths, a handful of different core strengths. And so if you can't find something this weekend with those 5 balls, there could always be something better.
He's calling me out. Did you hear that?
Yeah, that's exactly.
What he said on the left side is not walled anymore?
No,
Yeah.
but I mean,
Well, I brought
we're going
8.
to find out.
Just a second.
Yeah.
I just want to show this real quick. This is this is what the switch is. This is basically
Yeah.
the switch that's on the torch down there to make it turn green.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
just-
So
you hit that and it triggers. But
Well,
it's,
you just got to hit it hard enough for it to trigger,
I
apparently.
have to throw it harder. Okay.
yeah.
No pressure. Just throw it 25 miles an hour. What's
Throw it harder?
But this is what the trigger is down there. So it just has this whole plastic piece and that communicates to the rest of the torch, and that's how it does that. So, anyways, continue.
Yeah, well, I brought 8 balls. Technically 7 because of this whole plastic ball nonsense. But I brought 7, and so if I can't find something, then
You're-
yeah. So,
Yeah.
but it's a really great way. A lot of people say, "Well, I'm going to a tournament. I haven't bowled there before." But if you have such a varied arsenal like that, where you have several different balls in there, if you can't find, and there's, I'm sure that there's one of these situations that's going to be like, man, if I just had this ball that's at home, but that's going to happen no matter how many. But if you bring 12 balls to a tournament, you're going to think, gosh, if I just had that one in the basement, which may or might not be the answer. But building your arsenal on a system like he has, it's going to give you a really, really good shot. So you should be able to find something at both houses with the 5 that you brought.
Yeah.
So
And sometimes I think the other thing is, and I'm a culprit of this, I want to say, is, sometimes I don't simplify things enough and overcomplicate. And if you kind of stick to essentially a basic arsenal setup,
yeah,
once you think through what you want to do, that's it. And from there, if you know, like, oh, I wish I brought, I don't know, let's say the High Road Pearl would be, for me, a step down below the Melee Jab.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, guess what? I don't have it. So the simple thing is, Melee Jab's what I got. I have to tweak something to make it work. And in that way, it actually simplifies it a little bit, because you could theoretically switch and go, maybe it's not right. And all of a sudden you got another sort of steamrolling downhill thought process, and that happens to me a lot. So I much prefer to just, if I can, it might actually help me to just keep it simple. This is what I got. That's it.
That's probably that's a lot better solution than sometimes people bring. I've seen people make 2 or 3 trips out to the car to keep bringing balls in.
Right.
But then you watch them, they get into trouble and they go back and they're staring at 11 different bowling balls sitting there.
I don't know what to do
And
anymore.
it makes it complicated, and they think, well, but I could use this one, but it doesn't do this, or I could use this one, or whatever else. But if you have balls that you're comfortable with, and there's another thing is that you can end up bringing, well, I want to have this just in case this, or I want to have this just in case this, and completely forget, well, I don't really like that ball that much.
Right.
It makes sense on paper.
I rarely use it, but
Yeah, it makes sense on paper, and so that's, I kind of start with, I have an idea in mind what I want, but I also kind of start with, well, these couple balls just go everywhere, period. You make it like that, so if you have something that you're comfortable with, even if it's not the greatest look, you can normally make something work. And you're not always going to match up at every single tournament. There's some tournaments you're going to show up to and you're going to go through every ball in the bag, and they're all going to suck, or you're just going to suck. But sometimes you just don't match up. But I like to start with a few balls that I'm comfortable with, and then build outside of that based on, okay, if this is a possibility, I'll take this. If this is in play, then I'll take this. So
Did you bring urethane?
No, I did not
Oh,
bring
okay, so
urethane.
I was just waiting to see if you're gonna wreck my shot this week.
No, we actually have a couple different lefties here. So.
I didn't turn it green, but I struck.
And that's the other interesting thing is that I've tried to have to change the way I think, because righties bring several different balls thinking about, okay, well, I'm going to have a progression. I'm going to start out with this ball, and then I'm going to progress down to this one. Lefties bring balls based on, well, I'm going to have this look probably the entire day, so it's either going to be this type of look or it's going to be this type of look for the whole thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, we don't don't think about a ton of different shapes because, first of all, that gets confusing.
Yeah.
And second of all, from the left side, a lot of times you're kind of locked into a space.
You are,
right? I
yeah.
mean, there isn't. It's, yeah. I mean, I guess we can get into a lefty-righty debate, but I think for lefties out there, you kind of know what we're talking about. I think Luke is obviously starting to experience that himself in practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you've done it before, but now coming back to it a little more with some level of consistency, you're probably seeing that, the development of an arsenal and the development of the shot is actually quite different. Fewer people have an opportunity to do something a little different. And if you're by yourself, sometimes it's feast or famine. I mean, that's honestly the truth. I think there's a lot of, I'm sure there are a bunch of comments already about left side being walled, but hey, I'll take it because I've been looking for for a walled shot. The one that'll actually score, I should say.
Hey, Cassie. But yeah, it's really interesting that you're kind of, and James and I talked about this a little bit yesterday, but you kind of find yourself, even if you practice around, so I'm gonna get really deep and practice on this, or I'm gonna get deep, you kind of find yourself gradually creeping back to the left, straightening everything out, and then kind of flattening your hand out a little bit, because shape and angle management is the biggest thing. And even if you have several different patterns or whatever else, you're still going to be playing a very similar zone. It seems like no matter what I'm on, I'm going to be in the similar zone. I just have to find the right shape to make that zone work on that pattern. And you can move around a little bit, but you start moving around, and then we don't have that that righty thing where they can just keep moving deeper and deeper and deeper, and then I'm going to shim it, or I'm going to go around it, or whatever else. Once you kind of hit a cliff on most stuff on the left side. If I can play right of third arrow on anything, it's kind of rare, and actually be successful, because you get to a point where
you can play it, but being successful is a different
story. You can hit the pocket, but you may not carry, because just the way that the left side of the lane plays. Being effective, you can play about anything you want, but being effective from that zone as a whole, it's just a totally different story.
And I think that's kind of exactly that. What you're talking about is sort of the reason why I like the nuclear, for example, because it's about the only ball I can get roll heavy enough that if I have to push past the third and getting close to the fourth arrow, still rolls heavy enough to give me a mid lane read. Otherwise, without a mid lane read, you're basically pitching it into a cliff. And the way I describe it is basically you're taking a house shot and turning it into a sport shot, but instead of the pattern ending here, it ends this way. So all of a sudden you're trying to find a way out of the pattern, right to left.
Yeah.
And doing that, you have to find the right distance to do it consistently. Yeah. And without the right distance, you're pretty much you might get in the pocket every time, but you might leave flat 7, you might leave ring 7, you might crush 1, and there's your knight constantly, evolving through that, and that's guaranteed not to be a fun night.
because what happens on the right side of the lane is that as the track gets burnt, there is normally a little bit of carry down, but there's track burn happening at the same time. So the ball's moving earlier and it's a little bit smoother, but it's still kind of, they balance each other out. Yeah. So as you move deeper on the right side, well, then you have friction to work with as you're moving in there. And on the left side, even if you have enough friction there where you have to move in, it never really breaks down that much. The back ends soften up just a little bit, but you never really, unless you absolutely, put 180 on an intense or something.
That's never been done before.
And beat your side of the lane up yourself. Most of the time, you're going to have the full pattern length to bat, and so then you have the full volume. You don't have any help from any track burn.
Right.
you have the full volume, you have the length, and then you have the angle too. And when you don't really, most lefties don't have a game built like Ryan Simonelli or Jacob Butler for some reason. Yeah.
Just for 10
Terrible.
minutes.
Yeah. We're just talking about the differences on the side of the lane and how it's interesting to me because I have a lot of experience on one side and I'm now good enough to have relevant experience on the left side.
It really is a totally different world.
Yeah,
Seeing how you approach things
yeah,
on here differently than you do on the right side.
yeah, because I used to just okay, well I can just move inside and get slow. That doesn't really work on the left side of the lane.
I mean, you could try, but
Yeah, you can try.
essentially you're moving into, every time you move on the left side, you're essentially moving to fresh area, right? So
Yeah.
it's not like you're saying, you can't keep chasing it. I mean, you might have to some extent, but
Yeah.
then it's going to be about trying to find the right shape and, in theory, staying as left as you can.
Yeah, yeah.
Because yes, you can get in, you can hit the pocket, but you're going into fresh area. There is no track. All of a sudden, you're in basically now a new part of the lane that hasn't been touched, and you haven't created enough of a down lane breakdown that you could just bounce
This is something
Unless
that
you have Leslie Law on your pair, in which case
Or maybe there's more oil down there.
this was something that James was actually practicing with today. I'll move this man. This is something that James was kind of practicing with today at Royal Press. We were doing a little practice. There was only a couple people on the pair, and so he was trying to test some different things. He just drilled a pin down trend that he was kind of looking at the tolerances of, and then he was also taking a look at his high road pearl, seeing what else it would do. Well, he was intentionally moving deeper with the trend to see where the cliff was or where the spot was. But trying to move deeper on the left side is basically what you were trying to do with the trend.
Yeah.
You were trying to get deeper
except
than
for it
what...
does that with everything, not just
Yeah.
Well, so I see Jason.
Yeah,
Welcome.
yeah.
So Jason's a local bowler with me.
Oh,
But
okay.
but he's got about a 500 rev rate, so
yeah.
so yes,
It makes it a little bit
lefty
easier.
Can get in.
Unfortunate.
Yes,
Yeah.
I can certainly vouch for you, Jason.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Can I
that's
divert to a
For
really
me,
quick meme
no,
question,
I'm gonna
by the way?
stay left.
Yeah.
There's
We
one,
blathered about the lefty thing. Everybody gets it now. So
Yeah, that horse
all
is
right.
beaten dead and sent to the
Yeah,
blue factory.
yeah.
So Hank Scorpio, one of your Patreons.
Yeah.
He asked, what was the question? If he's bringing a bag of IQ tours.
Yeah, I saw that
meaning,
earlier and we never
the
got to
Nano
it.
Pearl, the Solid, and the Emerald. What other two balls should he bring that he's not going to use? Which, I mean, is a valid question. Those
Yeah.
Nothing. Just keep your baggage light.
Yeah.
That's fair.
No, yeah. There you
Let's say he's driving and has space for 6 stuff.
I can't imagine.
Better gas mileage? I don't know.
Well, this is the thing that I'm gonna insert this line into a video that I'm doing here pretty soon. But I cannot, and it's kind of a different experience for Tamer. But I can't imagine being a lefty and not having a promotion. I just can't imagine it. And you'll see this weekend because I'm going to use the crap out of it, and then I'm gonna get out there and throw it on Chromium here. But I just can't imagine. It's like an IQ tour for the righties, and the IQ tour isn't quite on the left side. Isn't quite the IQ tour from the right side.
Well, your promotion looked like my IQ Tour Solid.
Yeah, the promo. I could just kind of dump out of it.
Even
and
on the
it
right side,
walks
your
up.
promotion looked like my IQ Tour Solid.
Yeah.
Which is weird because
Yeah.
my promotion looked like garbage.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we talked about it before the tournament.
Yeah.
I love my promotion.
But yeah, it's super strong for you though.
Yeah, and that was the one challenge I had. I think part of it is too much axis rotation, and when I'm finessing, bowling a lot of sport shots, I don't use a lot of speed.
Yeah.
And so without that, the ball just
It is
looks
just-
sideways. Oh no, it doesn't look sideways. I mean, it's still.
It's got a lot more punch on the left side of the lane than it does on the right.
It can be really steep down lane if you give it time.
Right.
To get
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's the thing. I give it time. So
Yeah,
And that
because
was
it
weird.
keeps winding up and it keeps
and that
winding
was the
up.
problem I had. Is it kept winding up. It kept getting steep.
Yeah.
I don't need that much help with the ball for
Right,
directional
right.
change.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and-
that
and-
ball, I want it to be smooth
Yeah.
and controllable and rolling.
And
Man.
for opposite reasons,
Yeah.
same thing. Like actually, because of my speed and rev rate, it's the same matchup, just a notch down. The same thing. Getting a little too much motion. Now I did consider bringing it tonight, with me on this trip.
Yeah.
As the strong control, But I remembered I had the chaos, and because I have more experience with it, it was just like I have to bring that.
It's
one
something
because
that you
it's one I
trust more.
know
Yeah, you have to.
so well,
You just have to.
So that actually brings up a point that I think really is crucial, especially for someone like in a situation of myself or you, Tamer, with us flying out here, is we're effectively coming in semi-blind for these tournaments, and like this is something I think about like when I'm building my bags for USBC Nationals. Is like it might not be the most perfectly optimized bag, but I'm packing a bunch of stuff that I trust a lot.
We were just talking about that while you were bowling, saying that even if it makes sense on paper, that's what I was saying. What his way of arsenal building is so great because.
What happened?
I missed the 5 pin.
Oh,
Yeah, his
rip in the chat.
his arsenal building is great, but there's sometimes where he was talking about overthinking it too, and sometimes if you bring too many options to a
The
tournament,
three of us can overthink something.
yeah, you can overthink
No
something,
idea.
but just because it makes sense on paper doesn't
comment.
mean you can think, okay, well, I'm going to take this just in case this, but then you get to the tournament and you're like, oh, well, I don't even like this ball.
Yeah.
I just brought it because it sounded good on paper, but
Hey,
yeah.
Angel.
Hey Jason, do
You
I
are
ever
free to drink.
do I ever overthink anything?
You want me to mute him?
You don't have to actually answer that.
Angel says
Toby with the Bermuda Triangle, yeah.
no.
Dave said we're going to be on, Mr. Waswo says we're going to be on lanes
Thanks,
15 through 17 at Summit when we get there, so, yeah, Angel owes me a drink.
Angel says no.
Yeah.
Angel says no.
All right, so what say we get out there and make fools of ourselves?
Yeah.
I'm going to get up and get out there and practice a little bit. And
I saw a request for Aaron
miss-
Kniffen, so I'm
miss
going
a
to jump
few-
on.
Yeah.
What is that, lane 30?
All right, so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go on ahead and we beat a few horses here and talked about some stuff. If you happen to miss it, just go back and look earlier in the once we're done with the stream. Go back because we covered quite a few things. We all talked about the arsenals that we brought, and we blathered on about the Lefty thing for a little while. But I'm going to go ahead and move the microphone here down to the table and zoom the camera in, and we're gonna bowl and we're gonna talk about what we're seeing. This is Kegel Chromium once again. It's a challenge pattern. It's like 6.7 to 1, so it's not as tough as like a typical sport pattern, but it can actually be kind of easier than some overcliffed house shots that are just dry and then wet. So there's oil to the outside, so if you get it outside quick, it's going to hang. But it's playable. It keeps you honest, but it's playable. So I'm going to zoom the camera in, and feel free to ask questions. We're going to come back and forth and talk and whatever else. So I'll kind of resituate some things here. So hang tight for a minute, and we got the torch down there that'll tell you for the righties anyway. Left us out in the
Aaron
cold.
Kniffen now boarding.
Yeah. All right, give me a second. I'll get some things shifted around here.
It's 9 pins.
And if at any point the camera angle doesn't quite work out, we can kind of move some stuff around here too. So definitely let me know what's going on with the camera here. Move the,
I'm telling myself, I'm starting to get nervous. So I'm like, don't destroy the ball. Don't go at 80 miles an hour and let it come on. So I didn't do anything.
I'm going to monologue for a second if I could.
You guys see that still?
I'm just not going to bother looking at the camera because y'all are over there, I'm over here, it's weird, whatever. So I was talking with a couple friends of mine, including Luke and Angel and a few other people. When I went down to Turtles last weekend, I bowled really, really well. I bowled 12 games. I shot 3,001 for my 12-game total, which is a 250 average. Easily my best weekend of bowling ever that I've had on house shot. But I came home thinking, like, what can I do better? What can I, like, that next level of optimization? Because here's the thing. That 3001 was not high in my group. The guy that put the group together actually was One Hand No Thumber. He's actually the guy that I bowled against when I won the UBA Southeast Heavyweight belt last year. Just kind of, I mean, fair, but like that is to say, he's a really good bowler. He strikes a ton on house shot, especially. Like a lot of respect for Dre. Like he's figured out a way to strike a ton. And I watched him shoot. What was it, like 31-40, 31-50 for 12 games? So that's like, I just averaged 250, and I got averaged by like 10, 15 pins per game for an entire weekend. And so I'm sitting here watching him throw this nuclear cell all weekend, and I don't really have a lights out reaction like what he had. He had a 10-bagger or more in, I think, 7 of the 12 games that we bowled. He had a couple 299s, a couple 300s, and a couple 290s. It was like, he struck a lot. And so it's like, I was talking with Angel and Luke and a few other people, ended up actually messaging Chris Schlemmer about this. And I'm like, I messaged Schlim, and I was essentially like, I've always kind of struggled with the really big, blocky, heavy rolling, chuggy type shapes that like the Cell series is really emblematic of. And so I was talking with Schlim, and I was like, I've always struggled with these, but I effectively just got run over for an entire weekend by a guy who was using that, and I didn't have that shape in my bag. So do you think that it's something that I should look at, like, any ideas on how I can optimize, how I can, like, maybe take another look at that shape, how I can optimize it for my own bag? And Schlem's response was essentially, he writes exactly like he talks, which is absolutely hilarious. But Schlem's response to me was essentially like, not every bowler will match up with every ball. And, maybe some guys don't like the nuke, but some guys really love the Astro. Some guys can't really throw ASIMs at all, and so they'll gravitate to something like a Phase 3 when they need that, like, responsive, rolly downlane shape. And so that kind of got the wheels turning a little bit of, like, just kind of making me refocus my own approach to the game is, like, figure out what I'm good at, figure out what actually works for me, which is fairly straightforward because, like, I've got enough knowledge base and enough, like, baseline, like, repetitive ability while I'm bowling to be able to kind of figure this out pretty quickly, but essentially figure out what you're good at and work on building that up rather than trying to force stuff to work that isn't really in your wheelhouse. And so what's kind of funny is, like, even doing the Aaron Kniffen stuff there a minute ago that the Fruit asked about was like, yes, I can do that on this pattern with how this is broken down right now, but I threw 3 shots with it. One of them went Brooklyn, one of them actually hit the pocket, and the other one almost missed the 3-pin to the right. So it's like, it's a cool party trick in that sense, but it's not something I can actually use on a regular basis. And so that whole line of thinking is essentially another part of what's kind of driving my arsenal building right now is like not just trying to cover a bunch of different shapes, but like focus on what I'm good with, what I'm comfortable with, and then build around that, if that makes sense. So I don't really remember where I was going with that thought completely. Let me see if there are any. Nope, no real questions. I hope that makes sense, though. The overall kind of message from that is, like, it's funny, Schlim said that. I drilled a fresh astrophysics on Wednesday, and I almost shot 800 with it last night. So that kind of reaffirmed, like, oh, Astro rolls really well for me. Maybe I should just focus on throwing that instead. Yeah, I hope that makes sense a little bit. I don't even remember where I was going with this whole line of reasoning, but I thought it was really good kind of general kind of encouragement / a general thought from Schlim that I think applies to a lot of people. Is like, even Tobias, he gets around the side of the ball a lot. He's got a, fairly heavy ball roll, but a lot of downlane directional change, and so he actually, a lot of Storm Roto stuff doesn't actually look that great for him. And then he drilled a, I forget what ball it was. Hey, Tobias, the ball you shot 300 with last night, that was a recoil, right? Yeah, so then Tobias has been throwing a lot more motive stuff recently. He drilled a Venom recoil last night and shot 300, 750 with it out of the box. And, Tamer's bag he's got a couple global balls and like 2 Global, 3 Brunswick, and 1 Storm, I think, is his bag for this weekend. Or something, it might be like 2 and 2 or something like that, but it's like figuring out what works for you. And obviously it's a little more limiting for someone like myself or Luke because we're on staff, and so there's only so much we can play. But just kind of like figuring out if you can find a few balls that you really, really like and you're really, really comfortable with, and you can actually get like repeatable, proven results with that stuff. Wow, the left is even walled for the 2-4-7-8. Unbelievable.
It's walled for that.
If you can find that, like figure out what works for you and why, and that will honestly make things a whole lot simpler long term, in my opinion. So, anywho, might hit 3,000 after 18 games. Doesn't matter what I throw. If I never throw it the same way twice. Yeah, there is that detail. Shot repetition obviously plays a big part of it. It was in a pretty easy house too, so like I didn't actually. Oh my goodness! I didn't actually think I threw it that well. Like, I threw it pretty well, but not amazingly. But I just was able to get matched up and hit the pocket a lot and hope for the best, essentially. So, all right. Anyhow, I guess if anybody else has any questions about that general thought process, let me know. I'm gonna go throw a few shots with the guys. I'll be back.
There are pitchers of ice water up here.
Nice.
My turn.
That's why you. See, that's exactly why we don't like move inside. This is why we don't move inside and play angle as lefties, because stuff like that happens. So I'm going to end up moving back outside.
That's why I don't pull left. See if I can try this.
By the way, Angels hit that thing like 10 times.
Nobody asked.
It's amazing. How did you get an easy way to move to the left side? We're not having to like rookie. I'm converting to left-handed Angel.
Yeah, I saw it on replay. I got instant replay over here.
Lined up, righty.
You want to move it out of the way for now? Or not?
No, I was actually just seeing if there was anything in the chat.
Whatever you charge that.
Yeah.
That's basically what it costs. Better get the shot out.
Really nice when you do that.
Hit it again. but
So-
I was more.
Yeah, I know.
So you can't show off anymore.
That's what I missed by like 10 boards.
Right. So if I'm trying to go up the back, for me, I get my hands back. Is what we look for. Fingers really straight.
All right, so if you want to, you can keep asking questions. Again, we're bowling on Kegel Chromium. If you just want to watch and hang out, or if you want to ask questions, James moving the torch around a little bit for Tamer. I'm going to be practicing. I don't have a whole lot of lane time in with the parallax because it's so strong that I don't get to use it very often. So I'm going to take some time to practice with that. I have a ton of time in with the Pro Motion, so I can just kind of show up and throw that. But I'm going to get some actual practice in here at being accurate. Yeah, so is Tamer. So he's going to be. They're going to be setting that up, and he's going to be playing with the torch here.
If you don't make it turn green,
Oh yeah, you want to push it forward.
I have to what?
Try and
if you
Strike
don't make
this.
it turn green, you have to
it will make it work.
Well, I'm all right.
What?
Probably not going to carry you. Well, he was. Well, I mean, sorry, that was a rhetorical you. We, the royal we. The rest of us mortals. Oh, I can't even make my stairs. I'm like, wait, what? I maybe I'll step over there. No, it's okay. I just need the thumb. I was like, wait, well, I just switched the thumb.
All right, you ready? Got a question.
Ready? Yeah.
What would you use if you had a power gate phase 3, phase 2, crystal physics, astrophysics, physics, omega correction, cell, marble attack, going on the middle road on the first? So he just listed his little arsenal.
That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Middle road is probably going to end up being closer to Astro, Omega, Phase 3. Middle road doesn't have a ton of volume, I don't think. I'd have to look up the numbers on it, but I think it's a Kegel recreational pattern, so it's basically a house shot. So you're probably not going to need super strong stuff. I'd imagine that the Phase 2 and Crystal are probably going to be the top into what you're going to be bowling on. Kyle's a new Patreon sub, by the way, too. So 5 games on middle road, then re-oil to Broadway for the other 5. Yuck. Broadway sucks. Omega Correct is probably going to be pretty good on Broadway just because it's really good at angle control. It hooks, but it doesn't like back end crazy. So I think the Omega is probably going to be a good choice for that. Phase 2 would probably be a pretty good choice too. There's a lot of people that are probably going to be throwing urethane on it though, so you might have to watch for that on the right side. And remember, you can always ask stuff like this in the main Discord group. So, and you can tag me, you can tag James, you can tag Mr. Bill. Tamer also has a Patreon too, and he's also in our group. We're each in each other's groups. So,
It says Bill O'Neill much, James?
Yeah, the frozen 510. Reset that?
Fruit.
Okay, yeah, whatever. Hey, it's struck. Fight me.
You can make a 6-ball arsenal for anybody on any condition. What would it be? That's a huge question.
Presuming current line Storm Roto.
Including a spare, so you'll actually get 5.
So 5 plus spare. For anybody for any condition.
So I guess name your person and name your condition. So you could technically do it a few different ways.
That is true. If I'm literally building Dead Blind, I would actually start with 3 plus spare
Okay.
and then flesh that out from there.
Okay.
So those 3 would probably be a lot of personal bias coming through, I'll admit that. Phase 2, Astrophysics, High Road Pearl, Spare Ball.
Who would it be? For which person?
I think pretty much anybody that's going to be a good baseline for most bowlers.
Okay.
Is what I'm getting at. Like I'm taking the truly generalist approach.
Okay.
And so from there, like even knowing just a little bit of information about the bowler, you know, one-handed, two-handed, rev dominant, speed dominant, then now kind of flesh out whether you need to go with a bunch of stronger stuff. You know, add maybe a UFO and a nuclear cell, for example, or maybe as someone who's a little more rev dominant, they don't need as much help down lane. So you add a urethane ball for short patterns and an IQ tour solid, for example. So there's different nuances to it. If I literally have to give you a 6-ball bag completely blind, God, that is hard. Maybe, yeah, that's entirely possible, yes. Carlos said 3 R2S balls. That's actually not too far out from the truth.
Yeah.
I was going to pick from the current Storm Roto line. I'm going to go with Rubicon, Phase 2, Astrophysics, now I'm thinking because there's a couple different ways I can go with these last couple balls.
Yeah. Emerald. You have to say emerald.
I'm actually not going to put the emerald in there. I'm sorry. I'll explain that in a second. So, we got a Rubicon.
Everything he says is now void. The emerald's out.
Whatever. Rubicon, Phase 2, Astro. I'm going to throw the Hustle Ink in there. This last ball, there's a couple different ways I can go, but I'm going to say MVP Pearl, just because it's a really good kind of offset shape to the rest of those. Pretty easy down the lane, but really punchy, but then also very controlled down lane. And then a spare ball. So are there going to be some gaps in that? Just completely blind, not knowing anything about the bowler? Yeah. But if you walk in with that setup, then I think you'll have something on almost anything. So that's a very very open-ended question. What about no Mega Crux? Aries, yeah. I thought about that. That was one of the balls I was considering for that list. Yeah, heckin' Rubicon. That ball's incredible. The Rubicon was one of the 6 I said, by the way.
I got my fries and they're hot.
Nice.
I'm good. They're warm. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's the thought with going Rubicon Phase 2. There's so much variety of what you can make those 2 balls do in terms of layout and surface that I can give you those balls, and then you just kind of learn more about yourself, and that's where the clarity comes from of how to set them up exactly. Which Hustle Inc. Nate, that's actually, so I'm guessing Bryce is asking about San Antonio versus Utah. I personally am partial to San Antonio Inks, and that was kind of what I was visualizing when I set that up, is the Hustle. Notice I put a Hustle Ink in there, but not an IQ Tour of any kind. And that was intentional. It's because you can make the ink kind of be in the same ballpark as an IQ Tour solid by adding surface. It won't be exactly the same, but it's still that, like,
smooth response, smaller core type ball that you can kind of use in a different zone than the other stuff, especially on pressure conditions. But then if you really wanted to get it down the lane and boom a little more on the burn, just leave it shiny and off you go. Is the Rubicon a better hustle or better idle pro for the most part? Yes and no. It's an updated cover formula from the Idle Pro. The cover formula actually feels very similar to R2S Solid, believe it or not. Just a little bit more responsive to friction than R2S Solid, but still in that same ballpark of strength. I think the asymmetry gives it a huge boost. The Rubicon that I'm throwing this weekend is actually pinned down, which I don't think I would have been able to get away with on the Idle Pro. And that int diff of the Rubicon kind of makes it pick up in the mid lane a little more. And it's a ball that I think is going to have a lot of applications. I think it's going to be one of those balls like the High Road Pro that we were talking about, where it's one of those balls where you throw it and you're like, oh, it can do that too. Oh, it can do that too. Obviously in a different strength zone than a High Road Pearl, but I think this ball is a game changer, just shape-wise and in terms of its capabilities for the Sturm Rotor family. So I'm really, how much did I use the Idle Pro? Not a ton after because I won. I did. It was I threw it a ton. That was actually what I used to win my contract match bet last summer. Yeah, the Idle Pro is my contract ball. With a fresh cover, I've absolutely loved that ball. But then once it got pretty well broken in, past 50, 60 games, it just got a little too lazy down lane for my taste. And I ended up I was leaving too many 10 pins with it, and I'm just I would rather get strikes than I would rather strike than get 9. Phase 2. Phase 2, hands down. IQ Tour Solid is amazing. That's not really that boomy down lane. Omega Crux is not boomy down lane. I love that. I don't, because I don't I very rarely carry those really strong standard asymmetric pieces around with me. And if I'm carrying one, I'm carrying a pin down physics, because that's one of those lightning in a bottle type balls for me. Oh, hey, Pat. Hi, Pat. Hi, Katie. Bryce, what about as a two-hander? Okay, that actually helps clarify that clarifies the thought process a little bit. So I'm going to go phase for a two-hander, blind 5+ split. Phase 2, IQ Tour Solid. I'm going to leave the Astro in there. I'm actually going to put the Emerald in, knowing you're a two-hander, because I think that ball is really good for folks with slower ball speed, and slower ball speed or rev dominant. A lot of two-handers are rev dominant, so the Emerald is in. So you got Phase 2, IQ Solid, Astro, Emerald. I'm going to leave the ink in there, and then a spare ball. And I think that, or ink, or if you bowl a lot of sport patterns, let's drop the ink and put in a urethane, probably the pitch black. So that's how I'd approach that. Does the Rubicon play over or under the original Idol? It's a cleaner cover, but a more responsive core. So it's definitely even comparing a little bit, yeah, true, but I'm thinking more front to back and friction created. To borrow Tom Sorsey's terminology, is the original Idol is the second strongest cover in the entire product line from both companies right now, only behind the Axiom cover. The Rubicon cover is not that strong. It's like R2S Solid levels of strength, maybe a little bit more, but definitely a lot, not as early of a cover as the Idol cover. Where it will trick you, though, is the core plus that cover, when it's dead fresh, is actually really, really, really responsive. So if you have a pin-up Idol that you really like, and it's really smooth and controllable, and you drill a pin-up Rubicon, it might actually feel earlier than the Idol, because it's flipping and rolling so early down lane versus what the Idol does. Yeah. And does that kind of line up with what your experience with it a little bit?
I have not thrown the Green Monster in so long.
Okay, fair enough. But it kind of makes sense what I'm saying there, right? It's it can potentially, because it flips and tumbles through. I know Tamer initially pegged it as Sherlock levels of strength because of how responsive it was, not how early it was. but it can kind of trick you a little bit.
I've hit it many times. It just doesn't light up. I was like, no, a couple of those.
Like we
Flush,
felt
like, yeah, I don't
and then
know.
I still bowled after.
I think James did
Yeah.
mess it
And
up
it
on
was
purpose
so
and
much
turned
better
it off.
before I bowled.
Yeah.
Like when I first was like, oh dear Lord, am I gonna be able to use this?
Yeah.
And then as I kept going, I was like, oh,
Well,
I can use this.
it's not
Yeah, the cover, there is definitely a break-in period on that Rubicon cover. Like, even the pinned down one I've got with me right now, it feels very different at 20 games in than it did fresh. Which, go figure. Give bowling balls a few games before you make a verdict on them, but that's what I've seen with it. Would the Rubicon cover feel more like R2X than R2S? I'm going to decline to answer that question because the only R2X ball I've ever thrown was the High Road X. And the cores are so vastly different that I can't really make a proper comparison. So it is, I'm going to, the way I'm going,
Mine would be more
Yeah.
Odex rather than Hybrid.
yeah. So I think the way I'm going to describe the Rubicon cover as my final answer is it is somewhere between the Phase 2 cover and the IQ Tour Solid cover in terms of strength. It's somewhere in that gap. I think it's closer to R2S than TX16, but it's somewhere in that range. Like medium to medium strong, but not insane. Seems like a no-brainer to get a Rubicon, really. Factual. Very, 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 very factual. I own 2 of them. I will be getting more. That ball is amazing. Gene, what's up? Just joined in. Where are we bowling? We are in the lounge at Aaron's Family Fun Center in Belton, Missouri. We have a bunch of people in here. You can see Luke and Tamer on screen right now. They're the 2 lefties bowling on the torch pair in front of us. We also have a bunch of other people. We got Talon and Mr. Bill from Luke's Discord server and a bunch of other people as well. We are all out here for the Kansas City Open this weekend. It's a weekend-long team double singles event. And we all decided to pick a weekend and come out and just bowl and have some fun. So I got to sub in the Draft Scratch League at Royal Crest last night. Had a lot of fun there. And just hanging out today, doing some bowling, and then we bowl team event tomorrow and double singles on Sunday, right, Angel? Yep.
Team at 1 tomorrow, double singles 9 a.m. Sunday.
Yep. And there we go. Yeah, so that is where we are bowling, Gene. We are in the greater Kansas City area. Belton is kind of on the southeast side of Kansas City proper. I've never seen James throw an idol. James throw an idol. I don't actually own any of the idol balls right now. Got rid of my last idol pro. I have an idol pro. It doesn't fit, so I'm not counting it. And I haven't owned an original idol in approximately forever. I did own one when it first came out. Didn't really throw it a lot. It was just so strong and smooth that I wasn't able to get a whole lot of use out of it. So, all right. I'm gonna step away and bowl for a minute. Angel, yeah, have fun with the chat. Give me a shout if you need it.
I need my drink. They were actually mostly from Yeah, we do have a motive guy here if you have motive questions.
I probably need to be like on 7.
But yeah, it's so much better because I actually thinking at that and I'm a little soft.
Oh, man.
That easily
What's the name? I don't even remember. Roll number 1 to 1. Nate.
Oh, it is, so James, so we're James Riley, Luke, and Tamer on one team. Mr. Bill, Carlos, Tobias, and Chad on another team. And then myself, Jonathan Haas, which isn't here, Eddie Burke, which isn't here, and Joe is the other team. Threw me up because we got a couple people that backed out.
Oh, okay.
So we had to shuffle.
I know Tawny said he was here.
Tawny had a death in the family, so and with their family restaurant, so he had to cover the family restaurant. So,
we gotta talk about Tawny.
yep, talk about Tawny.
Oh.
I was good. Typical James carry there.
James has negative tilt, I think it's really close to 0.
Yeah, like the ball's leaning this way, it's negative tilt. When it's leaning this way, it's positive tilt. But yeah, he gets. Well, I think it's just because he likes to let go of it late and likes to get a handful.
Right.
Yeah, we're talking about your negative.
Someone was asking.
I don't have negative tilt.
Someone was asking if we ever figured out if James had negative tilt.
I am positively tilted that Luke thinks I have negative tilt. Any more questions? No? Good. Have a nice day.
Say, I'm positive he's tilted, exactly. He's definitely feeling pretty negative at the moment.
How many different ways can we say this?
I don't have negative tilt.
You're gonna have to kick fruit. He's making.
At least it's in the right spot now.
All right, so
Hang on, I gotta mute fruit real quick.
okay. All right, well, let me get in here, and I got to talk about Tani a little bit.
I know. Yes.
So Tani Shabani is the dude. Anybody that's on SRG, BBFS, the Storm Rotor Grip bowling balls for sale, you know who Tani is. Back when the whole pandemic thing started, Tani, he's got a big stash of overseas stuff. So he's got a bunch of real classic stuff. Well, he owns a couple of restaurants in Osseo, Wisconsin, and he started selling his stash to help his employees out. And the balls were he priced them to not sell basically, or instead of just selling everything off for super cheap, he wanted it to do some good. Like if you're going to buy a ball, I'm not going to sell all this stuff for like $200.
Right.
I'm going to sell it for $400. If you really want it, you can buy it, but you're actually going to be helping somebody out because $200 will get you through a week maybe, with some food or something. But so he sold a bunch of his stuff. Well, we bought several of them, and because he was selling all the balls he really didn't want to sell, and he was just flat giving the money away. And people were still complaining about the prices and whatever else, but it wasn't about the ball.
Right.
But so what we did is one of the ones he really didn't want to get rid of was the Phase Tour, and we bought it and we held on to it for a little while. Well, he was going to come out for the tournament, but I think Angel was just talking about he had a death in the family and couldn't make it and really wanted to, so we sent him his Phase Tour back with goat soap. So I mean the
Fruit says check the distance.
sending the ball back's whatever. So we got the ball, but the real story is we were able to send goat soap with it. So, Tani is just such a stand-up, awesome dude that and I already have another Phase Tour anyway, so that was one of his favorite balls. He really, really didn't want to let go of it.
Is that the one with the R2S Pearl or hybrid on it?
No, that's the one with GI-18 Pearl. So it's
We didn't ever get that in the States.
No, we didn't have that in the States.
That's probably on one of the gates or one of the locks, isn't it?
Yeah, the Sherlock had GI-17 solid.
Right.
So it's the Pearl version of the updated, the 18 formula. But he was really disappointed about having to let go of that ball, so we just went ahead and sent it back to him because he's such a cool guy. So next time Tani Shabani posts something about selling bowling balls or something, and he actually did post something in there thanking us, which was really cool. But it was pretty cool to be able to be in a position to, give him something back because he was selling all the stuff that he spent years collecting, and people were complaining about the prices and whatever else. But he was literally giving all that money to his employees to keep them afloat while the restaurants were closed during the initial shutdowns with the pandemic. They've since reopened and they're doing okay. But yeah, he sold years worth of stuff he collected and just gave the money to his employees. So really cool dude. Mr. Cram, yeah, you can or James recommending some kind of arsenal, and just curious there's a question for James.
Hello.
Yep. So I'll let James back in here now. He asked if the Rubicon has replaced your Phase 2.
Yes and no. I still see the shapes is a little bit different. I actually did bring the Rubicon my pin down Rubicon in place of a Phase 2 for this weekend, just because when I threw it last weekend at Turtles down in Georgia, it was lightning in a bottle, and I've never had a reaction like that before. So I was like, it's striking a lot. Let's just full commit and bring it again. And so here I am. With the same layout, they are not at all the same ball. The only way my Rubicon and Phase 2 are any close right now is my Phase 2 is 4.5 inches pin up. My Rubicon is 4.5 pin down. The pin up Rubicon feels like a Codex. It's more responsive down lane. So it's really kind of almost, I see the Rubicon drilled pin up for me as more of a kind of an intermediary between something like a physics and then getting down to a truly clean asymmetric piece like a Code Black or Astrophysics, for example. Versus the Phase 2 is much more controlled overall. And again, this is all assuming same layouts across the board. The Rubicon being pinned down does change it for me. It slows it down quite a bit, makes it more round and rolly and smooth. So in that sense, yes, it has replaced the Phase 2 for me a little bit. I'm also still learning the Rubicon. I've only got a combined like 25, 30 games on my 2 Rubicons that I got drilled. So that's not a final judgment yet. But it's in that same ballpark of strength. And I wasn't worried about needing to bring snow tires this weekend because I know everything in Kansas City hooks a lot. So hope that answers your question, Cram. Fire back if you got more. And set cleat slag.
Sad Boy says you need to throw a shot two-handed.
No, I don't. Hey, I'm sliding right at the big dot. What more do you want?
How does the Rubicon compare to the Alpha Crux? Says
Very, very close.
Gene Page. Very close. If you
I think they're very close. I think the Rubicon is not quite as much cover, which makes it a little more responsive downlane.
Right.
They are very, like, I can see some resemblance of the Rubicon and Alpha Crux. So
Right.
They're definitely on the same ballpark. Yeah. The what? Between what? Oh yeah, there's that. Yeah, the Rubicon doesn't cost like $300 to get brand new. So there's that.
Good luck finding a cheap
Yeah.
Alpha Crux.
Hey Bill, got a question for you. Ask the Colorado guys which shop they like. Yeah, she's in the Denver area, right? Yeah, Tish Johnson, wherever she is in Denver. Bill can tell you more.
T&M's Pro Shop.
T&M's Pro Shop, there you go. What center is that in?
Littleton and down in Colorado Springs.
All right, Littleton and somewhere in Colorado Springs. Go there.
I use Bobby in Aurora. He's good too.
Okay. But Tish.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not arguing. There you go. Good shot call.
Nick, there's one for you, Riley.
Yeah, if you've never thrown motive and should try one, what would it be? No shock. I don't know why you're say that's what I'm saying. Parentheses, no shock.
I have 2 answers. I want to see what yours are. That's like what Porsche would you buy and not a 911.
I mean, the one I would say you've got to throw as a Jackal Ghost.
Yep, that was one of
but
mine.
you've got to have the speed or rev rate or the ability to control it because not a ton of people can be super consistent with asymmetric stuff. I
Yeah.
still struggle with it occasionally.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's way too strong for people. Something other than a Venom shock.
I have an answer. Do you have another answer?
Is your thought in a current release or is it?
Yes. Current product line.
I mean,
I view all these questions as current product line unless stated otherwise.
possibly a recoil.
Yep,
The
that
recoil
was it.
is an earlier, rounder version of the shock.
So it's in that same ballpark of strength. though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is asymmetric, but it's not a super strong asymmetric. I think it's like an 037 diff and like an 013 intermediate.
Yeah.
So
The Venom shot, the recoil is to the shock what the Rubicon is to the idle.
okay.
Like they're
I can see
the
that.
shock was the Rubicon before the Rubicon, but from motive. Straight up.
He said he had to leave it off because I know it would be picked. Luke said the attitude was one anyway.
Do what?
He said he had to leave it off because he knew it would be picked anyway.
Yeah. How do I find the Kansas City Open tournament? I haven't bowled it yet, but I have bowled some stuff that Adamski and Wazvo's run in the past. I mean, this is my 3rd time flying out here for tournaments that they run. I can't really say much more than that. They're easily the smoothest tournaments I've ever bowled in. They're fantastic people, great tournament directors. Can't say enough about them.
Just don't forget your shoes because you will not hear the end of it.
Hey, can you explain more on that, Riley?
Yeah, so for those that don't know, I've been sitting down here kind of hiding away. I live 3 hours away. If you were here earlier, Luke probably said I'm living in McPherson, and that's 3 hours away from the Kansas City area. So in January of this year, I came up to a tournament at Olathe Lanes East, which is about a, like I said, 3 hour, 4 minute drive. And I pack all my stuff and I drive up there, pay my entry fee, and I'm just kind of sitting around waiting for some more people to show up. And then I decide, well, it's probably about time I go out and get my equipment. So I open my trunk to my car and I see 2 3-ball totes and no backpack with shoes that are missing. So
We got darts.
I went back inside, and Dave and Mike were nice enough to return my entry fee after I told them that I had forgotten my shoes 3 hours away at home.
Yeah.
And now I never hear the end of it.
Moral of the story is don't forget your shoes because your friends will make fun of you about it.
Say, in our Discord chat, before I left McPherson, I sent a picture and said, before anyone tries to be a comedian, yes, I brought my shoes, because I knew that would be the first question they would ask as soon as I walked in the door.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. What would you relate the Ghost to in the Storm Roto family? They just discontinued it. The physics was the closest thing by far.
I think so. I think the physics, and then possibly even a Rubicon now. But I think the Rubicon has more back end.
It's a weaker cover than the Ghost.
Right.
It's not as much traction. I think I actually think the Omega Crux is the closest you're going to be right now.
Yeah.
But it's still going to I see the Ghost as being a little more early rolly, tumbly, versus the Omega is a little more lopey down lane.
Okay,
It's a subtlety, but I still don't. I think the Ghost has a little more traction than the Omega.
Right, and I was bowling a sport pattern sweeper over the summer, and Gabe Alvarez, one of the youth bowlers from the Wichita area, he was throwing an Omega Crux, and he was just crushing it. Yeah. And I was like, I need a ball motion like that because that ball looks incredible.
It's a fantastic ball. It's one that I wish I could throw it more, honestly.
For whatever reason, me being the giant motive fan that I am, I had not purchased a Ghost yet, so I was like, that's probably the closest that I can get to the Omega.
Yeah,
and
the Ghost is only the second best ball in the entire product line and has been for like 5 years. And yet you didn't have a Ghost.
I have one, and I think I need
what
about.
Was your first game out of the box with it?
Yep, first game out of the box was $2.99. So
go buy a Ghost, kids.
And then 3 weeks later, we bowled on Bear, and I sanded my Ghost to I think either 1,000 or 2,000, and I won the first week by a small margin, and then the next week I think I won by almost 100 pins. So 2 weeks in a row on Bear with a Jackal Ghost, and the first game out of the box being $2.99. Also, it set my highest series at 823 not too long ago. Yeah. So I highly recommend a Jackal Ghost if you don't have one.
Yes, that ball's good. What ball is Angel throwing? The pink ball she was just throwing a minute ago was the Hustle Pow. The ball she is up throwing right now is an Omega Crux.
Until tomorrow.
That was the pink, silver, and black ball she was throwing. Weston, I left my shoes at the Akron Open. Dude, I was there too, actually. Bowled the afternoon shift, missed cut by 50. It sucked. Stonehenge is terrible. I never want to go there again. John Schaefer, James, what is your take on the Axiom these days? Saw your review, just wondered if you got more lane time with it. I actually haven't thrown my Axiom much.
It didn't seem that hard to hit. I mean, it's just...
Yeah.
It doesn't like me.
It doesn't like me either. Yeah. Well, we're not Angel, okay? Leave us alone, Carlos.
Say she's accurate. It likes her.
Yeah, no kidding.
Somebody's got a remote to trigger the green light. Something.
That's the other thing that Neil gave me earlier.
Yeah.
The Axiom and the Phase 2 are always really, really close for me, and I know I mentioned that in my review video, and actually if you go back and watch it, it's almost like the Axiom wasn't able to hook up to the lane properly, whereas the Phase 2 was. So it's like the Axiom, I still had to like really roll it and really get it into the lane just to get it to get through the pins properly and not get behind it and wrap 10 or 2-8-10 type of hit, versus I had zero concern of that with my Phase 2 on the same lane with the same layout. And so really, that's one of those things of essentially just comfort and usability is the Axiom's good. Like I think it's a great ball for a lot of people. I'm not one of those people. The Phase 2 is just another of those like magic balls for me. I've drilled 7 or 8 of them at this point, and I've got 3 more stashed in my room.
What surprises me about the Axiom is how it's got the earliest cover that they've ever made, but it still has shape. Like
Yeah.
it's not so early and slow. It'll get down and it'll still make. It still has a fairly defined move.
It's early, but it doesn't bleed out.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and
It
that's,
doesn't die.
I don't know how Storm does that, but I think a lot of the NRG balls have
It's-
that same trait.
It's
It's
a
kind
trick.
of odd.
I don't understand it at
It's,
all.
it's really weird, and like I can see a lot of use for it, especially when there's more friction out there. But from that like early smooth control ball, I want it to be able to roll and like hook up to the lane and tumble still. And I just feel like I have that more in the phase 2 than the Axiom, for how I throw it and how it kind of hooks up to the lane. So haven't really thrown it a whole lot recently, and that's why. Never seems to hook for me. It was just too slow. Phase 2 better in almost every way. Yes and no. I don't want to say the Axiom is bad. Like that's what I don't want you to hear. Is like, I mean,
So certain balls match up for certain people.
Yeah.
Sometimes you love a ball and it works perfectly, and sometimes it doesn't work for.
I think it might be a little more environment specific too.
That could be.
Because I knew the Axiom came out, and like even throughout the entire World Series of Bowling, Storm staffers were basically throwing 3 balls: the Phase 2, the Axiom, and the Idle Pearl, and then Urethane, but that doesn't count. But that was like what they were using for pretty much the entire tournament, was those 3 balls plus some idols kind of all together. So it's like when you see guys throughout an entire week of a tournament on tour using a ball, like, yeah, I think this doesn't really happen as much anymore, but there used to be some incentives for throwing like the new stuff on TV.
Right.
That doesn't really happen anymore with any of the major companies from what I've heard.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as I'm aware, it's not a thing.
Yeah. So I mean, if you watch flow bowling and you see guys throwing a ball, you know for a fact they believe in that ball.
Yeah.
Because if they don't, they're putting it back in the bag and throwing something they believe in instead.
Favorite ASIM currently, Jackal Ghost.
Astrophysics. Yeah.
I feel like that's an
Yeah.
easy answer for you.
Astrophysics with the Rubicon close behind it. Should I speed dominant drill another phase 2? Always yes. Phase 2 of the weight pull compared to the Rubicon. Yeah, I think the Rubicon is still a pinch cleaner. Not by a ton, but a little bit. I admittedly haven't thrown my pinup Rubicon versus. I haven't thrown either of my Rubicons directly next to my phase 2, so I'm a little blind on that comparison right now. That's on my list of stuff to do next week when I'm back home, though.
Oh, is that cute for the Nerf gun?
That's one of the big comparisons I want to do, is look at those 2 balls back to back, because I think they are pretty close. But I do still see the Rubicon cover as being cleaner. So, Mono Chim, hope that helps a little bit.
IQ Pearl Nano, thoughts? Looks like Storm's Venom Shop.
IQ Nano Pearl, thoughts are yes. That ball is amazing. I do think
It looks really good.
yeah, it looks really good. I think it is our equivalent of the Venom Shock for the motive crowd.
And when I was bowling the Kansas Open a couple weekends ago at the Alley and Hutch,
Yeah.
Francois Lavoie was throwing that almost exclusively throughout qualifying.
Yeah.
I mean, granted it's Francois, so he can make anything
Yeah,
look great.
Frank
but
Tank. Yeah.
but that ball looks incredible.
Yeah. Actually,
We were
I'm
bowling
gonna go
on-
throw a few shots of mine right now.
So we were bowling on 38 foot, 28 mils, I think is what it was, like a 2-to-1 ratio. So it was very flat.
You're good. I need to sit. I want to drink. Oh,
Zach, you get warm quick.
right.
At least I do, anyway.
Yeah.
So
And
I
I
don't-
mean the.
this
Oh,
fan.
you had a fan on too.
Weirdly enough, I shot like 3 or 4 of them. I'm like, okay, this is over.
I would be trying out my Jackal Flash if it came, but I don't have one currently. My Pro Shop operator ordered a 2-pack, and those normally come like a week or so before release date. And I asked him Wednesday, I said, "Hey, is this shown up yet?"
Oh, green and a
And he
stripe.
said
Look at you.
that it was going to be shipped later in the week, so I'll probably end up getting it Tuesday. But I was hoping to throw it this weekend. That's all right.
I'm throwing the Astro right now. Not that anybody asked. I was just telling everybody what I was throwing right now.
We'll be doing a bowling ball.
Yeah, I'll definitely be doing that on my video.
What's up, Curtis? Lefty with a spare ball. Carry. Say, you've seen it here first. If you're a right-hander, get a blue Team Storm spare ball and throw it lefty, and you will strike. At least on 42-foot chromium here at Aaron's in Kansas City. As long as those conditions are met. James, have you thrown the MVP attitude yet?
Do what?
Have you thrown the MVP attitude yet?
A little bit, yeah. Is this my phone? Yes, it's my phone.
Probably.
I set up mine to be a little more of a niche ball for my own arsenal. I drilled mine pinned down, no hole. I knew it was kind of a slower, more tumbly type of ball to begin with, but not super early. So I wanted to accentuate that there's a couple houses around here where if I catch a couple of pairs where there's a lot of friction, but it's tight down lane, the attitude kind of lets me trap it a little bit, but not see the front part of the lane.
Right.
But not be like a boomerang once it does see friction.
Yes, because
So
the
it's like-
previous two were immediate.
Yeah, the other
immediate
two were
left
like
turns off the spot.
The other two were just straight hockey sticks essentially, especially when trying to play straighter. So that's why I set that up the way I did. I haven't thrown it a ton, but when I have, it's been very good at what it does. So I intentionally set it up to be more of a niche piece when I'm like it's never going to make my 6-ball core arsenal when I go anywhere. But that was kind of by design. I set it up to be kind of a different look tournament use ball for me. And so when I fly back out here for Swiss in a couple weeks, that's making the cut almost certainly.
Right.
Because it's controlled, but it's also just a completely different read down lane than anything else I have in my bag on the sanded side.
And with North Rock, the lane surface is so flat, and they've got such a perfect lane bed.
And
that
symmetrical cores look so good there.
That building flies
Yeah, exactly.
down lane. So I believe Luke's throwing an Astro. Parallax. Okay, he switched.
The heckin' parallax.
Luke is throwing a Parallax. Okay, there definitely are beginner leagues. Some of them are non-sanctioned. At least I think most of them would be. I know the center that I bowl at on Wednesdays in Hutchinson had at some time, I don't remember exactly, occasionally they'd have a tattoo league that wasn't a sanctioned league. It was pretty much just more for fun, and at the end of it you get a voucher to go get a tattoo at a local shop.
Parallax, my favorite ball. Fruit, do you want to get muted again?
Say, I got pretty lucky when I was going to college. I started working at that center in Hutchinson, and every day I was working, I would get 5 free games. So I'd go in probably an hour to an hour and a half before my shift. I'd bowl my 5 games and then I'd go to work. So like Curtis said, the best way to get better is to bowl for free. But just constantly getting out and bowling as much as possible is the best way to get better.
I was like waiting for it to pick up and kept going. I was like, wait, what?
I don't know if it was just the timing of that message coming in, Fruit, but as soon as I saw I don't care mutiny, it immediately got deleted. I don't know if it was the timing, but I saw Fruit type I don't care mutiny, and it immediately got deleted. It was pretty good.
Where's Tamer? He is right there.
Yeah, he's off camera at the moment. He's the next pair over.
Ooh, Trident. Do you ever throw the Quest?
Yes, I do. I'm currently having a love-hate relationship with it because it's slower than I think it should be, and it's not as strong left to right as I think it should be. I'm hoping that the Jackal flash is what I was hoping the Nemesis would be, because the flash looks very quick down lane, and I'm really excited for my flash to get here. But I have thrown the Nemesis, and it seems like when the fronts are a little too burnt, like say I'm starting out early, normally the first ball out of my bag will be a Covert Revolt, which is now retired. But it's basically Motive's Phase 2 a few years ago. And so if the lanes are hooking a little too much too early for that ball, then the Nemesis is a great step down because it gets through the fronts, but it's asymmetric, so it'll roll just enough. Not the Trident Quest, the Trident Nemesis. I did not get to throw the Quest. I haven't thrown any of the Tridents that had the original Turbulent Core. I think it was Turbulent Core, but I didn't throw any of the original Tridents. Oh yeah, I did not throw the Quest. I know Dylan Burns loves his, and he tries to snag as many as he can, because that ball is now discontinued. But I did never throw one. Kyle's asking about a power gate.
Power gates.
GI-20 solid, I'm pretty sure.
He says if he had it and either did or didn't like the look of it, should he sand it to 2,000 even though it's 3,000 from factory? A great way to figure out whether you will or won't like a ball is to adjust the surface.
Yeah.
So if you don't like it out of the box at 2,000 grit, then it may be rolling out too early.
Figure out why.
Yeah.
If it feels like it's, I mean,
if
pulling
you're
up the
throwing
specs
it,
real quick.
if you're throwing it and it looks like it never hooks, it's probably hooking so early that you can't even see it.
Get video and watch there. Don't just base of what you see from the foul line. 'Cause,
Right.
Like, it can seem like stuff never hooks, but it's actually hooking so early, you never see that transition.
Say, I don't know about you, but when I throw it, I almost don't even see the ball until it hits the arrow.
I don't see it until it's past the arrows.
Yeah. So if it's not hooking, then you might need to raise the surface, say 3,000 or 4,000 may work better for you. Or if it's not hooking early enough, then you can add surface and go lower, 1,000 even. Curtis, if you're asking about the best motive ball or what motive ball you should get, it's Venom Shock. Almost everybody that throws anything is going to recommend Venom Shock if you want to get into the motive equipment.
Now you're showing that was intentional. I mean, that
A big back and forth that Luke, James, and I have is that all motive stuff is really smooth, so they like to kind of smack talk back and forth that motive just now found something close to angular in the Supra. But if you're looking at motive, then the Venom Shock is definitely the first ball to start with. If you want stronger, if you want a little stronger than a shock, the recoil is just a step up. And if you want the currently best asymmetric piece is the Jackal Belton.
all that rack and everything.
Curtis, that's correct. Yeah, it's a really good benchmark shape. I have not thrown my desert tank a ton. I drilled
It hooks
mine.
a lot when you surface it.
Yeah.
Like a whole lot.
I drilled mine with a little bit shorter pin, shorter than what I normally have for all my other tanks. My other tanks, I have the pin just right above the bridge, and with as weak as the core is in the desert tank, I drilled it with a probably 4-inch pin, if I had to guess, just to make the most of the 0.15 differential that ball has. But I haven't thrown it a ton. But so far, what I have thrown of it, it's not the least favorite, not the worst. I don't know how to say it. I've liked it when I have thrown it, but I haven't thrown it a ton. I really don't throw a ton of urethane or of their new microcell polymer balls. Primal Rage is probably the ball that put Motive on the map. I believe whoever runs their Instagram was doing some questions yesterday, and I think that was the first ball that Motive won a title, that a Motive staffer won a title with on TV, or whether it was on TV or not. I believe the Primal Rage was the answer to that one. The Tank Blitz, if you want something more urethane-y from Motive, the Covert Tank would be your closest bet. The Tank Blitz has a very strong cover and likes to really shape for their microcell polymer stuff. Fruit, I really like my Tank Blitz, but I really also like to shape the ball a lot, so that makes sense for me. I think probably the reason I haven't thrown my Covert Tank or my Desert Tank is because I have to play a lot straighter with them. And that's just not something that I'm super comfortable with. So to get better, of course, you need to practice everything. So I definitely should be playing a lot straighter overall so I can get better at it and be more comfortable doing it. But yeah, the Tank Blitz so far is my favorite of the microcell polymer tanks. Luke, do you think speed-dominant bowlers should have urethane in the bag?
Possibly, because it does hook early enough to help you tighten your angles up. So yeah, I would think that it definitely helps tighten your angles up. It may not shape enough for you, but at the same time, you might be able to just kind of really square up and zing it right in there, because it's not going to do a whole lot.
Say, if throwing it straight at it's your favorite thing to do, then
yeah,
it would almost be perfect for it.
Yeah, because it's going to hook a little bit, like Eugene
Just
McCune
enough.
firing it down there, because it's going to hook at the arrows, and
Right.
it's just going to walk right in there. So.
You can definitely shape the blitz. Speed is going to be a big factor in how much that ball likes to shape. If you can get really slow and really around it, that ball will hook the entire lane. The first night I had it, I was bowling league, and I threw all 3 games with it and just kept moving left and kept slowing down and getting more around it. Adam, I really liked my Forge Fire when I first got it. I shot a few honor scores with it, but I haven't shot much with it since. And since I shot those honor scores, I've changed my release a little bit. So maybe my current release now doesn't match up with either how I've got it drilled or I haven't found the right surface for it yet, but it's an interesting shape for sure. It's extremely chuggy in the mid lane. That core is so big in the Forge and the Forge Fire. But it's got that hybrid that's on the Ripcord, so it's got a decent amount of shape down lane too. For me, mine just rolls really forward as soon as it hits a dry spot. I agree. I love watching Simonson throw it straight at the head pin. What was it? He did that in the... What show was it that Simonson was throwing at Idol? It was one of the flow bowling ones that Rash had put on. Was that the Bear? that he was bowling against Tackett, where Tackett whipped a 2-pin.
Yeah, he was throwing an idle.
He was throwing an
Straight
idle.
up laying on bear.
That, and then
Chucking it.
and then it was Players that he did it with a phase 2. He was playing
Players
straighter.
was trapping the phase 2, yeah. From like
I,
third or fourth.
I love watching that. I don't have the ball speed to do that currently. I throw it slower than a lot of two-handers. And I can't really practice playing straighter on house because there's so much friction to the right. So, I mean, I can try trapping it straight in the middle of the lane, but then at that point I'm just playing a fade to the pocket. Best looking motive ball. It depends what you like. I really like the look of the Ghost. I like watching the labels go down the lane. A lot of people don't like seeing the color of it, but I really like seeing, as ugly as the Fire is, it looks cool going down the lane. I like the Ghost, I like the Shot. The new Jackal looks really good, the Flash with the silver, orange, and light blue. I agree, the graffiti tag, the logo on that one was super cool. Are you me? Leaving Stone 9s?
First said he wanted more loft.
I saw that.
Physically speaking, there's no way I can play straight up bottom right.
So I can try and throw it straight, but I think it's going to go either 60 feet or immediately.
Do what?
Trying to play straight.
Oh, yeah.
I threw one straight, and it kept going straight.
Did it. James going for a Norm Duke style trick shot. It's going a total of a half a mile an hour, maybe a half mile an hour. Curve, curve, curve. Not quite. Say any of those bright colored balls get gross really quick. Like the bias got super gross. The Fire gets pretty nasty. I imagine the Ripcord Flight will get pretty gross too with as bright as that blue is.
No prayer I could do that on the right side. It would be some
Wing.
I'm getting trapped.
Don't try and loft it. He said he's getting trapped, so don't loft it. You've done this to yourself.
Right, I'm gonna try something real quick.
That was fired up right about 7.
I didn't bring it.
What would a good urethane be for a speed dominant player?
Don't throw urethane.
That's totally contrasting from what Luke said. Luke said it could work.
Speed dominant urethane? Speed dominant? Or rev dominant?
You can argue with Luke. He said the complete opposite.
Yeah, good luck leaving time all day.
James goes against it. Luke says go for it.
because that's never ever happened before. Ever.
Right. They've never disagreed before. I say, if you like Storm, then Pitch Black is their best urethane ball. Yeah, you wouldn't want a purple or a fever pitch.
Fast pitch might be worth
Maybe a fast pitch. I haven't watched too much other than the 6 Ways video.
If you're speed dominant, you shouldn't be relying on urethane.
Well,
I personally wouldn't throw urethane if I was speed dominant because I feel like I could throw a strong reactive asymmetric ball and get it to do basically the same thing. Hit it. James, you want to look at this? Do we do with anything?
Yeah, I
Anything
got it.
or no? So it seemed, for me anyway, that really dark colored equipment seems to roll pretty well. I mean, talking about black stuff.
Yeah.
The pitch black rolls great for a lot of people. Like Covert Revolt rolls great.
Yeah.
Covert Tank is really good.
Yeah.
Really, IQ Tour solid. IQ Tour Nano Pearl. Really dark stuff seems to roll really well.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I don't know if I'd play too far outside on this pattern. to
There's
score.
a lot more. On paper, there's volume, yes, but like I'm throwing a Rubicon up 7-8, and it's hooking at the arrows. So there's
I can
actually not
try
much hold out there.
I could try a ghost in that similar spot and see. I don't think it'll work too well.
Yeah, good luck.
Not Kansas, there's no fun.
Good luck. Need a new pitch black. Jordan, I'm guessing you've tried surface changes. Urethane needs surface to work well, honestly. If it doesn't have enough surface, then you're kind of screwed. Because urethane's whole point is hook early and lay off down lane.
Because you're not good at it.
Jordan just yam on it more. Hey, Luke, they want to see two-handed righty. All right, this is for you, Gene.
Alright, so where do you think I should stand to play strike with this?
Whatever you need to do to set it down on 7 and hit 7 at the arrows. All right. Riley is about to try a Jackal Ghost, literally dead up 7. 5? Okay.
I don't play this shot very
Yeah,
often.
good luck. That ball's hooking at 25 feet.
And it went Brooklyn.
Yeah, that ball hooked at 25 feet.
Yeah.
Which the only reason I'm able to get my Rubicon to hold from there is because I'm throwing it so hard.
You've got a lot more balls.
Yeah. So like.
I'm just getting it to lay off essentially, but it's hooking early.
I bowled on this pattern last year's Labor Day and took first. That was at Olathe. Took first on it, throwing a pin down Revolt Havoc that had a weight hold, which is now
Oh, was this
illegal.
the
It was the
lady
exact-
one last year
Yeah.
when I was there?
Yep.
Yeah.
That one I was throwing a pin down Revolt Havoc with a weight hold, and it worked great the entire time. I was hitting about 10 or 9 down lane the whole day. I just kept moving left.
Yeah. Angel, what ball are you throwing?
Now it's a pursuit.
Okay. What ball is Angel throwing? It's the High Road Pursuit. It is a silver and red international recolor of the High Road Pearl.
And it smells great
Yes, it does smell great.
because I think, like you had said, Luke, they run out of a scent and they just put a different one on. They put Fruity Pebbles on that High Road Pursuit. It's no way. It's whatever it is.
All right. I'll sit down and talk to y'all for a minute now that I've been bowling and doing some lefty things and picking up some spares. All right. All right. Try two-handed right. Yeah. Two-handed. Nothing works at all.
It was for comedy purposes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. There's a lot of early friction outside on this pattern.
Right.
Which if you get inside and leak it right, it's gone. But if you try to start it right, it's just like a half shot.
Yeah.
All right.
For me, when I played on it last year, I tried to hit about 10 down lane, and then since I couldn't throw that same havoc with the weight bolt because I'm lazy and I haven't plugged it yet, I threw my Jackal Ghost.
At least you admit it.
That was Labor Day, so that was Monday.
Yeah.
So because I didn't plug it, I couldn't throw that ball. So I went to another strong ball with strong plug,
Yeah.
being my Ghost, and I took 12.
Yeah. Riley, did you throw the Revolt Vengeance at all?
I have not. I do have Maria Jose Rodriguez's signed one
Oh.
sitting in my room.
That's cool.
I keep saying guys.
Yeah, I got
Oh, yeah.
that from Corey Clausing. That was when she was in Wichita, I think, for like one of the Queens things a while, but like when the ball came out.
So the Storm Youth Championships are going on in Wichita right now.
Right.
Diana Z and Frankie are there. So, unfortunately, we're missing that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if any of your viewers watch like Brandon Bowden. He's been putting up a bunch of Justin Bowden. He's been uploading a bunch of their bowling vlogs, and I really like watching them.
Well,
they're there right now. So.
They're freakishly good too. Somebody was talking about I don't know if it's one or both of them, but throw one-handed, two-handed, back up, one-handed.
I think that's Justin.
Yeah.
Justin for sure goes one-handed and then two-handed as well.
Yeah.
It's just nuts. I haven't seen any backup shots.
When will you put more overseas bowling ball reviews on Patreon? I'm drilling a bunch of them next weekend. So I'm going to have a live stream. Which center in Wichita is North Rock? North Rock is kind of the big center in Wichita where they have a bunch of stuff going on. But as far as the overseas bowling balls, I'm going to drill a bunch of them next weekend. So next Saturday, I'm going to have a stream where I'm going to drill at least 3 or 4 of the phases. So after that, the ones I really want to drill, I got the pink phase, which is R2S hybrid, which was on the Code Red and the IQ Tour Fusion. So that's definitely getting drilled next weekend. The Phase Zero, or the Phase Tour is one that I've been waiting to drill for a long time. The Phase 3 is probably going to get holes in it too. I don't know about the Frenzy is something that I'm not going to really throw a whole lot, and so that's not on the immediate list. The same thing with the Phase Zero, probably not going to see a whole lot of time. I am going to drill the Zero Gravity, which was a ball that got released here, but it's pretty old and it's really different. And then the original phase and the first batch phase is one that I really like. So the phase tour, the pink phase, those are all on the immediate list. I've got a bunch of stuff coming soon. I filmed for a lot of stuff this week. We already filmed for the Axiom Pearl and the Fast Pitch. There's kind of an embargo on those, so I can't release videos until next Friday. So next Friday will be the release video, or the release day for the Axiom Pearl and Fast Pitch videos. The Fast Pitch is it reminds me of like old-fashioned, true, like Blue Hammer urethane from like the 80s or something. But yeah, the Fast Pitch is really good. What are your thoughts on the Phase Star? That's one of the ones I haven't tracked down yet. The phases that I don't have are the Warp Phase, the Dark, and the Star. But I think I've got everything else.
I know.
But the Phase Star is R2S Pearl, so it's going to be pretty similar to the Trend actually. The velocity core is lower RG and higher differential, so it's going to be a little bit more dynamic than the Trend, but it's going to be pretty. Anyway, no one has an IQ Tour Fusion for sale. Yeah. Unfortunately, no one has an IQ Tour Fusion. However, I do have the pink phase, which has R2S hybrid on it. What's your take on the Supersonic versus the Phase 3? They're very, very different bowling balls. The Supersonic is... the Supersonic is really early and rolly. The Phase 3 is long and really quick. Try SRG BBFS maybe. There, Cram. There's an inside joke. Mr. Ernie McCracken has been messaging everybody after an IQ Tour Fusion. He's got to have one. Really wants one. And I will admit this on camera. I have blocked or unfollowed very, very few people. He's one of them, and I've blocked 2 of his accounts. 2. Ernie McCracken / whatever his, I can't remember his other name.
So that's the second account.
Yeah. Eric Lipscomb. Riley Patton asking for a friend. Yeah.
Do what?
It was a pretty good shot. Pretty good shot. So
If I could stay on balance, that would be good.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, there's also a Facebook group for the 4 Count Club. Yeah. 4 Count Club. I've been trying to join SRG BBFS to try to get a 16-pound first pour phase. Is there any special way to get approval to join? Have tried 5 times. You'd have to ask Nick Brown. Either the questions that you're putting in you're not answering the questions correctly or interestingly enough or something, but all right, so we've got a all right, so we have the Nerf gun thing. I'm gonna go turn the camera around.
Covering fire.
Yeah.
It's all fun until you hit the eyes.
And everybody always aims for my face. Yep, see? Everybody always aims for my face for some reason. It's a big target, but... Yeah. We're going to be in here picking up Nerf darts until 10 o'clock tonight. Yeah, I've mentioned your name must be that. Yeah, it probably is. What are the differences between the High Road T and the High Road 300? I really don't think. Yeah, I really don't think anything. I have one phase start. Hey, so there's a request to see Tamer throw it two-handed righty.
I don't need to pull my groin back.
Yeah. He didn't want to pull any muscles before we bowl tomorrow.
So we're not learning any bad habits.
Yeah, no, we're definitely not screwing off. Yeah, we actually have serious heckin' business tomorrow. So, and we're probably getting pretty close to the end of the stream here. This has been pretty popular, and thanks to everybody for showing up and hanging out. This has been a bunch of fun for all of us, especially to get all of it. We talk a bunch online. I've talked to Tamer for several years now, and I actually got to meet him in Syracuse in 2017 when they had nationals there. But to actually get all of us in the same place, and then of course all the other people that hang out with us on Patreon and Discord and all that stuff. It's really fun to have everybody here all in the same place at the same time. And once again, if you we brought 3 teams this year. So if anybody else on the Patreon Discord, or I mean really anybody else, period, but we prioritize for all the special people in the Patreon Discord side of things. And so yeah, we tried to get a bunch of people together to come out and bowl the KC Open, and we'll probably be putting together tournaments other places too. But Panda Pack. Yeah. No idea. No idea. Which one supersonic phase 3 for a 16-year-old high school stroker on heavy oil? Probably the supersonic. The phase 3 is going to be pretty long and snappy. The supersonic on heavy oil for somebody that kind of walks the ball in. Norm Duke was a really big fan of his supersonic. He's still got several of them, and he throws it quite a bit. So yeah, it actually is it was something that was way too strong, way too early for me on the right side. I think it'd be great on heavier stuff on the left side. That cover, that energy hybrid cover, is really pretty good. So, all right, we're getting close to the end of the stream. We've probably all bowled way more than we intended on bowling tonight, but it was fun. I'm gonna need to, yeah. It was a good time, and once again, tons and tons and tons of thanks to Aaron's Family Fun Center in Belton, Missouri. Frank Hall put a lot of work in over the last month to kind of get. He got Ethernet in here. He got some stuff in for us to be able to stream in here and have this quality in the first place. So big thanks to him, and also thanks to Mike Soroka for allowing us, for getting us the space in here. Oh man. The wife. Green's her favorite color, so.
Green and striped.
Yeah. So big thanks for them for hosting us to do this. This is a great little section in here, and so if we, if you ever get into the Kansas City area, Belton's kind of the southeast corner, but this is a great place to come. We like when we come here for the KC tournaments. This is one of the spots that they hit during their kind of sweeper rotation. Dave and Mike run, and Kim. Everybody forgets.
I know.
Yeah, Kim's in there doing a lot of the hard work, and everybody
Right.
tags Dave and Mike, but nobody ever tags Kim.
I've been starting to a lot more.
Yeah.
Recently, making
Yeah.
sure everybody gets their thanks because she's always in there with them too.
Yeah, Mike and Dave are kind of the faces of the thing, but Kim does a lot of the behind the scenes work, and a lot of the data entry and all that stuff. So, and of course Gabby, we can't forget about Gabby either.
Right,
Gabby
right.
hangs out. Gabby Waswo. She hangs out and offers moral support.
Maybe I just need to
Always got a smile on her face. Always happy to see people.
and just let me rest.
Yeah, you keep hitting it, but the light won't turn green. I don't know. Maybe it's the rotation. It's the extra rotation. I think it is spins right through.
It's the tilt.
Yeah, it's a negative tilt. The torch does not like negative tilt.
Hate you.
Oh man, well she hit it on that one too, but it didn't. You got to touch it just the right way. That putt never wrinkled. All right, so yeah, we're gonna let everybody get out of here. We've got the KC Open. I think they're 150-ish teams this year, which is they've only been going for, I think this is the 4th or 5th year, and they've been progressively growing. And even this year with the whole virus situation, they still have a bunch of people coming out. So thanks everybody for showing up. This was a whole bunch of fun for all of us. You'll get to see more of us. You know, James shows up, and we got Riley. I'll have him on some more streams, and I'm not sure why I haven't had Tamer as a guest on the TV before, but we'll have to make that happen. And then thanks to everybody else that came out. Joe, who I will remember this time now that he doesn't have a beard. I was expecting Frank, and Joe showed up, and so I will. Which is really weird because Joe's been to the house like 4 or 5 times now. He shaved his beard and it just threw me. And then, of course, Mr. Bill and Cole, and I remember screen names a whole lot better than actual names.
Yeah.
So, Carlos, yeah,
Yeah.
and Mr. Bill, who will, even though his name is Bill, he will always be Mr. Bill. I always think of screen names before I think of actual names.
That's gonna be the whole thing. Anybody that's
So-
9 pin. Hey, it's Riley.
Yeah, Cole, crushing it.
Great shot.
I always do good when I'm about to fall.
You're relaxed. You're relaxed.
Too much hook. Too much hook. That's what I'm telling you. Plastic on the left side. It's just, you can't trust it. So,
It's fair, I'm just saying.
yep. We're going to go on ahead and get out of here. It's been a long day. It's been a long couple days for James so far.
Yeah.
We also had barbecue and donuts earlier, so
Yep, the healthiest.
we're quite a bit more tired
the
than
healthiest meal.
yeah. We're gonna have more barbecue tomorrow. Kansas City barbecue rules all. Thanks. Yeah, yeah. Hit the like button a couple times. We'd appreciate it on your way out. But thanks everybody for watching. This was fun. We're gonna have to do more stuff like this. And Aaron's Family Fun Center, Frank Hall and Mike Soroka are really what made this happen.
Has anybody posted the link to join Discord yet?
Probably not.
Okay, don't turn it off yet.
Our-
Let me do that real quick.
Memphis Memphis, whatever.
We're gonna have barbecue arguments.
All of a
now.
sudden I'm saying I don't know. It's one of those weird things that.
Fill dead space.
Yeah, if you're looking for us on Discord, Storm Nation, all one word, you can find us on Discord. You can also find me on Patreon. The other thing about that is too, they only charge your card once a month, so if you want to sign up and just you can get a free look at it for the next 2 weeks. And as long as you cancel before the first of the month, it won't charge your card. So if you want a free preview on the Patreon stuff, go check that out. I got plenty of good stuff up there. Yeah, look out. And then Discord is Storm Nation, so definitely check that out. We got a free channel too, so. My barbecue has something to say about that. Actually, my cousin married a guy that had his own barbecue place in Atchison. It was in Atchison, Kansas. It was rated one of the best 10 places in Kansas to get barbecue, or one of the best 10 restaurants in Kansas, period, for a little while they were open. So, Lonnie Q's in Topeka. Lonnie Q's Barbecue. Good stuff. Cheesy taters, man. Cheesy taters. All right, so Angel posted the link to that. We're after much ado, we're going to go on ahead and get out of here. Thanks everybody for showing up. Thanks once again, Aaron's Family Fun Center of Belton, Missouri. Frank Hall and Mike Soroka took great care of us tonight.
It's a great place.
Yeah, in the den here in the party room. If you're ever close in Kansas City, definitely come check the place out.
Even though I haven't scored well in the tournaments that I've played here, this is a really nice building.
It's a great venue. It's a great place to come out to. So
It just doesn't agree with me apparently. Well, that was in here. I wasn't bowling a tournament, I guess. I don't know.
Which
Did
is
you see how many 9 pins I left though?
yeah. All right.
Right.
Thanks everybody.
True.
We're gonna sign off. We'll see you later. Appreciate it. We'll have more stuff about the Panda Pack in the future. So. We'll make sure to tell everybody how we did this weekend. Should be a good time either way.
Thank you, Luke and Angel.
Yeah, Carlo. Good barbecue and donuts this weekend.
Oh yeah. Good eating.
It's the most important part.
Oh, yeah.